Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Got a big show lined up for you today. The Utah Mammoth have a big game tonight. They're playing Nashville, a team that's chasing them in that race for the first wild card spot, and they're right to play the division champ in the Pacific Division. We're going to talk later this morning with a guy who is tracking that fairly closely. And we will check in with Cole Bagley at 9:30 this morning. It's interesting that the Mammoth were off last night. Edmonton, who lost here 6-5 in overtime, they were in action. They were going back-to-back. And they are trying to win the division, get that top spot. They beat San Jose 5-2. Connor McDavid with a hat trick. He is on fire. It's like, he had a good night in Utah, and then he just turns around the next night. I mean, this guy is locked in playoff mode. Don't wait to turn it on in the playoffs. Be peaking before the playoffs. Well, yeah, he's doing that. That was pretty impressive by him. He got the first one on the power play, and the other two were in the second period, and they came at full strength. The two goals that he did not score in that game in the 5-2 win, he assisted on. So he's got 86 assists and 47 goals. I mean, my gosh. So thinking, yeah, you want to win. You want to be wild card one because if you're wild card two, you play Colorado, who's the best defensive team in the league, and they've got the best record in the league. But, you know, I don't really playing Edmonton to be a walk in the park. But anyway, we'll see how that plays out, and we will talk with Cole Bagley coming up later tonight. Brian Taylor will join us at 8:05. We got Bob Casper coming up in our next segment. He and Brian, of course, do Real Golf Radio Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 here on the Zone, and they're both at Augusta. We'll talk with you'll hear from Bob Casper coming up in this hour, and then we'll talk with Brian Taylor in the 8 o'clock hour. The big story of the day is basketball. It's college basketball. It's the portal. We were telling you yesterday, Rob Wright went in the portal, and now Diamante's gone into the portal, but also Collin Chandler, Kentucky's gone into the portal, so the Farmington High product, is he coming back to BYU? All the Kentucky websites seem to think so. Some of them with some pretty fantastical numbers. I'm not sure I buy them. I don't even really like talking about them. You know, there's really no way to verify them. Everybody who can tell you something, you know, has an interest, right? So you never really know. Certainly Kentucky, and that's where the numbers seem to be coming from, are saying, well, he's leaving, but he's getting this number from BYU, and it's a really big number, and honestly, I don't know if he's that good. But it could just be a case of Kentucky inflating the number. So it's like, well, of course we're not keeping him at that. You know, they don't want anyone to give him any grief. So I don't know. It's not worth getting into all of that. I think the bigger point, and I just touched on it here a second ago, is I think the Jazz, the Cougars, and the Utes all have the same problem to differing degrees. And I think it's pretty clear when you look around sports. The cliche is defense wins championships. And certainly there are exceptions. And certainly as we see rule changes, we'll see an ebb and a flow. But right now, defense wins championships, man. I don't know what to tell you. Which NFL team gave up the fewest points in the past season? Well, that's pretty easy. It was the Seattle Seahawks. They gave up the fewest points, and they won the Super Bowl. That defense was stingy. A lot's made of who the quarterback is, you know, and I get it. It matters. But, my gosh, you know, it's like Seattle had a lockdown defense. Lockdown. 292 points. Only two teams held teams under 300. They were number one, Seattle. Indiana was number two in college football. They only gave up 11 points a game. Hoosiers went undefeated, won it all. The team that was number one, Ohio State. It was undefeated until the Big Ten title game when they ran into Indiana, obviously. College basketball. Michigan and Arizona just met in the semifinals. They were number one and number two in defensive rating in college basketball. Michigan's number one. They win the game. They win the championship. And everybody who was top 10, top 15. They all ended up being 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds. I mean, it was ridiculous how well it works out. And you look at pro basketball right now. The top 4 teams in defensive rating are 1, 2 in the East and 1, 2 in the West. Yep, it's the Thunder and the Spurs, and it's the Pistons and the Celtics. So no matter where you look, college, pro, these teams with the best defense are dominating. I mean, they're just dominating. Now, what does it have to do with the Cougars and the Utes and the Jazz? And well, I mean, the Jazz are 29th out of 30 teams have been passing it back and forth with the Wizards, who are also terrible and who also are trying not to win. So presumably when they're trying to win, they'll be much better next year, but you got to be a lot better. You're at the bottom for a reason, and the defensive rating leads the parade. And the Utes didn't even crack the top 200. In defensive rating, they're I don't know what it was, 208, something like that. But they weren't in the top 200. And BYU didn't crack the top 50. They were 59. So you got to get better defensively. And we're going to sit here and say, hey, this guy can score and this guy can shoot the three. And the coach is talking about shooters, and certainly you do. And I don't want to undersell the importance of offense. I mean, Michigan and Arizona were 1 and 2, but they were either 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 offensively. You know, they're top 10 there too. So you really have to be good at everything. And I think one thing that'll help, and this is why I personally am not that sad to see Rob Wright go. He's a 6-foot guard. He towers over nobody. Height, size is a massive advantage in basketball. As a 6-foot guy myself, I play basketball against 5'10 guys, and I play basketball against 6'3 and 6'6 guys. And actually 6'8, I think, would be the tallest guy that I ever routinely, competed against. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in high school or you're in pickup ball. You can get a taste for what they're going through. It's just hard, And people make fun of Rob Wright and, well, he doesn't finish layups and he misses layups. And, yeah, most of the time he's throwing up some acrobatic off-balance shot trying to get around a shot blocker who's 4, 5, 6, 10 inches taller than him. Are you surprised? So I think more positional size. Now, the Jazz are building that next year. Clearly, they went out and got Jaren Jackson. They already got Markkanen and Kessler. They're always going to have, well, I shouldn't say that. They are probably going to have 2 of those 3 players on the floor at the same time. And maybe they'll do something different. Maybe they'll sit 2 of them together and we'll see more where all 3 guys are on the floor. But the point is they're going to have a chance to have positional size and be much bigger than their opponents, especially with Ace Bagley. Well, if he's playing one of the guard spots, it's going to be bigger than most of the opponents because the other 3 7-footers are going to be the 2 forwards in the center. I mean, they're going to be massive. Now, that's not enough by itself, but it's a very good start. Everybody needs the effort Houston has. I get so sick of watching Big 12 basketball and saying just one announcer after another. And sometimes opponents and coaches, you got credit Houston, they play really hard. Yeah, why don't you play really hard? I mean, why is someone playing harder than you? You can't, come on, man. You cannot just talk that away. The team that plays harder often wins. I mean, I don't want to break it to you, but, it's obvious, right? So is BYU going to get more positional size? And let's see who they bring in, how big a team they build, because Kebaketa was a little undersized. Now, Debonsa was not. He gave them positional size. Saunders was kind of average for his position. Wright was either average or a little on the small side, depending on the matchup. They need more. They need rim protection. They need size. They need size on the wings. And I think it's something that you have seen, and I know it hasn't paid off. The Jazz have been tanking games for 4 years, but I think it's something you've seen the Jazz focused on acquiring. With their top 10 picks, they're not picking 6-foot guys. They're out there getting guys, 6'8", 6'9", wingspan. And it isn't, size is easy, but really wingspan, your athletic ability, how much you move both laterally and can you jump and can you hit the floor and go back up a second time and all that kind of stuff. All of that matters. The height is just kind of shorthand. It's a good jumping off place for these discussions. So let's see what kind of team they build, and we'll talk with Mark Durrant about that coming up later this morning. So we got a full schedule. All right, DJ and PK, we are going to take a break right now. Still ahead. We got Bob Casper talking Masters next, and then we'll have Tim LaComb talking Cougar basketball, and we will have Morgan Scalley talking Ute football. That's all ahead in this hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Bob Casper joined us Wednesday for our annual Masters draft. Got his thoughts on the tournament. So we're going to play that conversation for you right now. We'll have Brian Taylor live from the Masters coming up at 8 o'clock as the first round gets underway. But here's Bob Casper with PK and I.
This 2026 Masters Update live from Augusta is brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Bob, good morning. How glorious is it at Augusta National right now?
You know, it's pretty nice right now. It's a little chilly compared to the last couple of days and the days going forward for tournament days. But it's going to be right around 68 to 70 degrees today, and then it's just going to get warmer on the weekends. It's going to be in the low 80s.
Yeah, they're saying no rain at all this week, right?
None. Yep, the forecast is glorious.
So how fast are the greens when the forecast is glorious?
They are fast, and they get faster. I don't know. They're probably going to be 12, 13s. And if you're going downhill, they're probably going to be about 16 to 18.
Well, my golf game's always going downhill, Bob, so I know exactly what you're talking about there. I got a question that I've been waiting for 3 months to ask you. Your father had left me hanging. So in January, I went down to the Palm Springs tournament, right? And, I go one day, and they had a concert there out on the driving range on the other end. And so we had a great, great time. And I usually play a couple days of golf. There's a golf course called Canyon Country. It was a private club for, like, the Rat Pack back in the day. And so I went, and they have a north and a south course. And right on the north course was the Hammer. Fred Williamson lived there, and I actually talked to him still lives there. He's 86 years old. I talked to him while I was playing. But they had this thing called the Sinatra Swing Fest, and I took a picture of it, and they had the leaderboard. And your father was only 2 off, but they had the leaders for 3 days. He shot a 67, 70, 73, and then I never found out what happened. Do you know what happened in that year at the Sinatra Swing Fest?
I'm hanging again because I have no clue.
I figured you didn't. But they have Sinatra pictures all over the place, and apparently he hosted this Sinatra Swing Fest. I don't know that it was a real tour, but they had some big names on there. Guy Berger, Frank Beard. Your father was there. A guy named Mason Rudolph, not the quarterback who plays for Pittsburgh.
I know Mason Rudolph.
Oh, you know him personally? Yeah. So, did your father ever talk about playing there with Sinatra or at his tournament?
Well, he played with a lot of those guys. I can remember being there in Palm Springs and him playing with presidents.
Presidents,
Gerald
yeah.
Ford. I remember him playing with Jackie Gleason and
Nice.
Sammy Davis, and there were a lot of guys that he played with in that event because Bob Hope held the event, and all the guys from Hollywood and everything wanted to come over and play. And then Bing Crosby held the event up at the Crosby Clambake, and a lot of the guys wanted to go up there and play too. So there was a lot more celebrities playing in that event than there used back in the day. But now it's a lot of corporate people and that kind of thing that play in that event.
Cool memories.
Yep.
Yeah, which celebrities should I know growing up in San Diego, as you know, Andy Williams was there. There were celebrities all over the tour. Which celebrities would be a good fit now, Bob? We got to bring that back. Let's make that happen. Who you got?
Kid Rock?
The Rock.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Rock is involved with golf at all.
No,
So,
not The Rock. Kid Rock. Kid Rock plays golf. I want Kid Rock.
Kid Rock.
I want to
Yeah.
mix it up a little bit.
That would be an interesting sponsor. But Sammy Davis and Glenn Campbell and Frank Sinatra, Andy Williams, not Sinatra, but Crosby and Bob Hope and Andy Williams. Those guys had lent their names to events on the PGA Tour, which was really cool.
So with that in mind, the characteristics of winning golf. What needs to happen if you look at, okay, you got to check off this, and this, and then how does that match up, this, and this, whatever that might be, those characteristics with the particular players in the field?
Well, here at Augusta or just in general?
For the Masters.
Okay, so, a U.S. Open is a crazy test of golf in that they want you to hit every club in your bag. Well, here at Augusta, the clubs that are primary are probably second shots into greens or approach shots into greens, and how good your short game is, putting and chipping. Putting is paramount here, and the driving areas at this golf course are quite ample. So if you have length, you're going to be able to get it down there a ways, but it depends on how you get the ball on the green, where you place that ball on the green with your second shot, and then again you're chipping and putting, because if you miss a green or it bounces over a green or something like that, then you've got to be able to get it up and down, and hopefully you keep it in a place where you're able to do that. So I would say approach shots, chipping and putting, short game.
So I was listening to some pros roundtable kind of thing. It was driven by some sponsor, so I don't know what it was exactly. And I only saw clips of it on social media. But they were talking that, yes, the landing areas are ample, and you're not really in trouble with a slightly errant drive the way you would be somewhere else where you think, hey, I'm in the rough, right, or it's super narrow and all these trees, and you're going to hear that thwack that the network cameras are going to pick up.
Yep.
But what they did say was that if you're at the wrong position, it looks like it's okay. You can find your ball and everything's fine, but it messes up your angle into the green. And there's greens that are protected by low-hanging trees and all that. So even though if you just casually glance at someone, it looks like, oh, he's okay. Your second shot, you're having to thread the needle in a way that you don't if you're a little more careful with where you put that first shot.
Growing up, my dad, he watched Ben Hogan one time play at San Diego Country Club, and Hogan was coming in for this little exhibition at the club, and he would hit drives on each of the holes, try to get the ball in the right center of the fairway, the center of the fairway, and the left center of the fairway, or left side of the fairway. And he would see how approach shots into the greens were accepted from these different positions. That's part of learning the golf course and part of getting yourself around a golf course to be able to score as best as you can. The same thing is critically true here at Augusta. When they put the pins in certain positions, first of all, you can't get to them if you're in the wrong position off the tee. Mm-hmm. Second of all, if you are in the right position in the middle of the fairway, a lot of guys aren't aiming directly at the flag. They're aiming away from the flag because of the undulation in the greens that allows that ball to work into the position where you need it to be. And anytime you're underneath the hole here, putting a little uphill, you can definitely be more aggressive and able to hit the putt a little bit firmer so that you can control the ball a little bit more on the greens. And then if you're putting downhill all day long, it's just you're leaving it up to chance and the texture of the green and the surfaces of the green to allow the ball to get close to going in the hole. So keeping the ball underneath the hole and also getting in the right position off the tee gets you a better line to the flags, the particular flags. Now, case in point, number 2, okay, it's par 5, dogleg left, downhill. If the pin's over on the left-hand side and you don't feel you can get it back into that left corner with your second shot, then all the guys will play down the right-hand side, just short of the bunker up by the green, to be able to pitch it up the green and be able to control a little bit more. Now, if it gets way over to the left and you can't get it there, or way over to the right, in the right corner of the green, then guys will get it over to the left more. And then there's a big swale that you can run the ball and get it down close to the hole. So it's critical to be able to get it in the right position so you have the best opportunity to either get it up and down or score birdies or eagles or whatever.
All right, Bob, it is time for the Masters draft. We traditionally give you the first pick. What will you do
so
with the first? Oh, first off, are there any crazy rules we need to know about? Is anybody inventing anything right now?
Exactly right.
You can only pick one guy once. So if you take Scheffler, you can't use him for the other three.
For the other three majors.
So you only pick one guy once totally, or only one guy once for the first pick?
No, totally.
Totally?
Yeah, totally.
So
Totally.
Okay, so if I pick Xander Schauffele, I can only have him for this one.
No, because you get Schauffele as the territorial assignment.
Oh, that's right.
Because of your San Diego connection. And BT told us you were going to take him, but you already got him. And we got to give DJ, he's got to get 4 picks because Tony isn't in the field.
Okay.
So you're free to
pick. All right. I'm going to take Cameron Young.
Bob, I swear to you, that was going to be my pick. I was listening to the Golf Channel this morning driving in, and they were pumping him up, and I'm thinking, that's my guy.
Cameron Young, just coming off the win at the Players.
That's funny.
But this golf course sets up for him because he's a long hitter, hits a high ball, and I think Cameron Young will have a great event this
That's
time.
exactly what they were talking about on the Golf Channel on the Sirius radio this morning.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
I'll take Ludwig Oberg. He has had 2 good tournaments. He's finished 2nd. He's finished 7th. He's got a little more knowledge of the course now. He's been through it before. This is it. I'm gonna ride him like PK was on DJ forever and ever.
Okay.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to keep picking Ludwig. Well, now I can only pick him once, but he doesn't do as well in the other majors. This is the one that he really seems to shine in.
Yep.
He seems to shine in this one, huh? Okay. Oh man, I had Cameron Young in my heart, and now it's just been ripped. I was young at heart, and now it just got ripped from me.
I've plucked him out of your heart.
You did. Okay. I'll go with Fitzpatrick then.
Natty Fitz, huh?
I got him once, maybe he can come back.
Okay. All righty. You know what? This guy's finished 5th and 6th the last 2 times he's played here, so I'm saying Bryson.
Yeah.
Oh, doggone it, Bob!
But now he can't use him for the other 3. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
I know. But that was still my pick. All right. I am going to go. I don't know. I should do him. I got to save him for another tournament. So we're never going to get a shot at Schauffele. He's going to have him all year long.
He's had him for the last several years.
Do you have John Rahm?
I got Rahm, and you had Tony, but now Tony's not in the field this one, so you get an opportunity to get a 4th pick.
Okay. Let's go. It feels like a reach this early. This is a bad idea. I shouldn't do that. I gotta.
Come on. I'm getting old here.
All right, I'll go Tommy Fleetwood. Fine.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Fleetwood.
I thought I could get him in the next round though, but I'm getting rushed here, so we'll go with Tommy Fleetwood.
I'll go with Matsuyama.
That was the other guy I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay. Good call.
Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna go with a first timer.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say Chris Gotterup.
Oh, that's good. He's hot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the first timer too. I'll let you know.
Okay, let's go with Siwoo Kim. Fine.
Siwoo Kim.
Is that Siwoo Kim Fine or what? Who is it?
Funny man.
I'll take another first-timer, Corey Connors.
Corey Connors. I like that.
And then,
hey, so
Bob, who'd you take in your third round, Bob?
He took Goddard.
I took Chris Goddard.
Oh, Goddard. Yes, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get another pick since Fino's not in the field.
Now I get one more stab here. I get one more.
Well, why don't you go Koepka since you're buff now that you lost the weight and Koepka's buff?
I was going to save him for another tournament because I don't think he does well.
Yeah, but you don't have to. He's your territorial pick. You're two buff guys.
Oh, he's my territorial pick?
Yeah.
All right, Brooks Koepka is my territorial pick. We'll do that. All right.
And PK, you have
there
Rom for territorial pick?
Yeah, I got Rom because he went to ASU.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, there's our picks.
Sure.
We'll send them to you guys, and we'll see how this works out.
Okay. I like it.
Bob, thanks for joining us. We will talk to you again later this week.
Okay, buddy.
There's Real Golf Radio's Bob Casper talking golf with PK and I, and we'll have Brian Taylor on at 8 o'clock this morning. When we come back, Tim LaComb talking Cougar football and Morgan Scalley talking Ute football. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back with Tim LaComb on the hoops and Morgan Scalley on the football next right here on The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tim LaComb joined us yesterday as the news was breaking about Rob Wright transferring. Now Diamonde's also transferring, and now maybe Chandler's transferring in. Lots of guys going in the portal. It's chaos here for a couple of weeks. But Tim LaComb's big picture thoughts on the moves and where the Cougars should go and what type of players they should value. Here's Tim LaComb with PK and I.
Did you hear the news about Rob Wright?
I did hear the news about Rob Wright. It just came across. I crossed that this morning as I perused the news.
Yeah.
I am, shall I say, not surprised.
I'm just wondering. Go ahead. Yeah, finish your thought. No, you finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say quickly, I just, after watching everything at Baylor last year, and that's the one thing everybody here was celebrating, the kid breaking a contract, being dishonest with the school there.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to stick that away and go, well, is it going to happen here? And I don't know for sure, is this posturing, for more money? We don't know the full extent, but I will say that if it's true, I think it actually could be a good thing for BYU.
Rather than hit up on the individual thing, let's go big picture about BYU recruiting. For decades, they get BYU guys, and we know the LDS guy who wants to go to BYU. We understand that completely, but I don't think that it needs to be an LDS guy. We're bringing up like Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams, to me, seems like a BYU guy, right? He's around the football program. He bought a house in the area. He made a lot of money playing professionally, right? So you got all that stuff going on there. With that in mind, just the recruiting strategy, they tell you the church leadership says BYU is different. And we understand to a degree, certainly it is different, right? Lee Camard and Delaney Gibb going on national shows talking about no practice on Sunday and it's a day to reset. And that's great. No problem there. I'm just wondering, is it best to go after these guys that have no connection to BYU, knowing that outside of the money and the playing time, what is there that BYU holds for them? Should they reevaluate it or just keep shooting for the stars?
No, I like the fact that they're going out and getting guys that can really play, and the fact that with the new shift in the landscape, I mean, BYU is technically in this new landscape a blue blood because every single really big name seems like BYU is somewhat attached to it. So I love the shoot for the stars mentality, but I think over time, I think you've got to develop some scrutiny in regard to motive, in regard to end game, in regard to, is this guy here just for a year to get as much money as he can and then go play the game somewhere else? And I think, one of the easier things always has been to determine somebody's athletic ability and skill level and and that sort of thing. One of the harder, more difficult things is to read the heart and the mindset. And so, I mean, I think in Rob Wright's case, I think he checks all the boxes of a guy who can really play. But I think they really missed on what his intentions and motives are. My understanding is he just went, everything was great. And then all of a sudden the money that he started to ask for got ridiculous. After kind of agreeing in terms, at some point along the way on where things were going to be. And so again, this was all out on display, what he did last year at Baylor. And so, yeah, generally, I think you got to continue to shoot for the stars, but I think specifically you got to get better at reading intention and motive, which is really, really difficult.
Deion Sanders, famously at Colorado, didn't want to go out and do a bunch of recruiting, sit in a bunch of living rooms. And it seemed like the model was changing, and he was ahead of the curve. I've heard other coaches say recruiting has really changed. But what you're talking about, don't you have to go old school? And do you have time for that in the transfer portal? Or is that something you can only do when guys are younger?
I think it's something you've got to kind of keep a chart on. But again, it's easy to fake who you are. I mean, look around the world today. People are who they are, and they go outside and become somebody else for about 8 hours and go home. And so that is the more difficult thing.
Geez,
I think
thanks, Tim.
What's that?
Thanks, Tim.
Well, no, I mean, you see the news. You see the news. It's more often than not. So it's difficult to read heart. And that was so hard to put together championship teams. I mean, back in the day, we had, different types of options. But for us, one of the big differentiators was, did they win? Did they win a state title?
Yeah.
It's not hard to talk to a coach and find out, they look you in the eye when you talk to them. They dismiss you. Do they build their teammates up or tear them down? I mean, it's all stuff you can see, but sometimes the glamour of what they can do on the court supersedes, and you think, oh man, I can make them a better this or that. And that's really, it's easier to change a guy's ability to shoot free throws than it is how they treat people.
Yeah, I can tell you, my wife told my mother-in-law, don't worry, I can change him, and it turns out my mother-in-law was right.
Were you a bad free throw shooter?
No, it's just that.
You're talking about the person part. Okay.
No, I was not going to pass the ball. That's the thing.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Selfish. It's very selfish.
Mm-hmm. It was me, myself, and, that's what as long as I got mine, I didn't really care if you got yours. And that's, it hasn't changed a whole lot for that matter. So.
Well, I've experienced a completely different PK. I know you like to put up this hard edge exterior, but, those late-night check-ins have meant a lot, buddy.
You're the second guy who's basically told me that in a week.
No, I appreciate you. I know you have a mantra, both of you guys, but two of the best dudes I've met since I got out of coaching, I really got to know.
So with that in mind, if he leaves, then you just go in the transfer portal because they've got to field a competitive team, right? Kevin Young came in, and I appreciated that opening press conference. DJ was sitting right to my left, and we were there. And you were there, too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I actually ended up talking to your wife way more than I talked to you at that one.
She's way more interesting.
Yeah. It's the first time I had a real in-depth conversation with her. And a lot of high rollers were there, and Danny was there, and blah, blah, blah. And Kevin is out there. I don't want to say saying bombastic things because he was setting the standard. And I remember Dave Rose at his opening press conference years ago. I was there, obviously. I was a beat writer at the time, saying, Final Four is the goal. And I got no problem with that being the goal. It should be the goal, of course. And with that in mind, if Wright does leave, then you're going to have to go back into the portal probably, and then you end up doing as Duke, the bluest of the blue bloods, basically. And you look at Michigan, this year 5 transfers, right? And I'm concerned is once you put your toe in there, before you know it, you got your whole body in there, and you got to do it year after year. And is that right for BYU? If they win, yeah, sure, it is. I get it.
Yeah, it is. It's part of kind of the necessary evil, and you got to have boots on the ground for situations like this, and they do. I think Justin Young, Kevin Young's brother, who's on staff, is the personnel, basically the recruiting coordinator. I would say that he is as good at recognizing guys that can play and has been in the game a long time, just not college, but in other facets. So I think that will be the next step now to replace Rob. And I think as they do that, I found it very difficult to watch Rob Wright play basketball. And I know he made shots and all that, but the air of, I'm going to do this and you're going to watch over and over and over again when, I even tweeted about it sometimes, play 38 minutes and have no assists.
Yeah. That happened.
Guard.
That literally happened.
Stuff, no, it happened. And then, sometimes you'd let it off the hook and you get 2 or 3. But it was not conducive to winning big. And I think, you look at the Jazz this year, they will, in a down year, but a culture piece that I think has been important. They're going to have more assists than any Jazz team in history. And Coach Hardy's thing, play hard and pass. And they've been at a disadvantage for a myriad of reasons. But the bottom line is the one area that is really important to winning is being able to trust each other. And I think assists are a part of that. And, BYU down the stretch, to me, it was a Rob Wright, and I got no issue with A.J. Devonce having the ball in his hands, but it was there was a reason other guys weren't making shots because they weren't getting any.
If they got to go in and replace Rob Wright, do you think they need to replace with a bigger player? One thing we're seeing with the Jazz is they build this roster, and we know that there are people who have influence at both places. Similar thinking, you want to be a bigger team, and the Jazz are lined up with 3 7-footers plus Ace Bagley, and if they're lucky enough to draft Devonce, they will be big at every position on the floor. It seems like. It'll just be a gigantic team, and if you've ever been in a basketball game playing against guys who are 3 to 6 inches taller than you, it gets pretty difficult pretty quickly. Is that a direction they ought to go?
Well, positional size kind of fits hand in hand with, positionless basketball. I think the ability to, like you talked about the Jazz, and in any game next year that they choose, most of the time they're going to be bigger and more skilled in that position. You look at a Jaren Jackson, Lowry Markkanen, Ace Bagley, most nights they're going to have an advantage. And so inherently the Jazz can literally just play through those guys and, beg the other team to bring a second defender and you're off to the races. So that's one of the best ways to do that. And yeah, I think if you're going out to look, you certainly are looking for the best fit, but in today's game, positional size, if you could go find a guy like Wagler at Illinois, put a 6'6" point guard out there on the floor, you're definitely changing things. So BYU will be, they'll be on it, but at the end of the day, make no mistake, this was all 100% about money.
Yeah, I know it's easy to criticize, but if you're going to get more money and you have no connection to BYU outside of money and playing time, go.
Yeah, no, I'm with you in this day and age, but know what you got, right? Know your hand.
Well, if somebody's willing to pay it, then that's your hand. And BYU was willing to pay it last year.
I'm talking more on the BYU angle.
Right.
I think you got to play the game. And there's no to me, I think this is actually a positive thing in the long run. It'll be painful in short term, but I think BYU has a better chance bringing a new team in next year and not have to basically defer to what Robs does out on the court.
Yeah, I think we got your thoughts on him and the way he played, and we appreciate you saying them.
Add more size, be a better defender, and be willing to pass the ball. There's some boxes that need to be checked.
Correct.
All right. Tim, we'll leave it right there for now. We appreciate it. We talk to you every week right here on The Zone, and have a good week. We'll talk to you again.
Are you guys on the moon?
Just me.
Did you go with Artemis, or because it sounds weird today, but
it's just me. There's technical gremlins I don't understand, but
okay. But you are on this planet. right?
I am.
You're not making a re-entry with Artemis. Okay, just making sure.
Well, he may be on the moon, but I'm on Uranus.
I always thought you were my Venus.
I'm your fire at your desire.
I knew you'd go there. Goodbye.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, Tim. All right, there is Tim LaComb. Let's switch gears now from BYU basketball to Utah football. Utah football coach Morgan Scalley meeting with the media. Spring practice. What is he thinking? His first spring in charge as he makes the move from defensive coordinator to head coach. Here's Morgan with the media.
Situationally intelligent, how an offense is going to, or a defense is going to change based on the situation. Not quite good enough in the 2-minute situation right now. Really on both sides of the ball. Big plays over the top. Dropping the football. Not as efficient as we need to be. So we got to clean that stuff up. And now it's, you're not really installing much. It's cleaning things up. I love the progress that's being made, but we're not there yet. And good thing is we don't play for a little bit. So we're still cleaning that stuff up. Love the progress. Creed's a guy I got to shout out because that's a guy that has made a ton of progress. He's leading by example outside of celebrating the wrong way on the touchdown. But anyway, really proud of that kid, but good practice overall.
How's the health of the team overall so far?
Yeah, good health. Like I said, our strength staff's done a heck of a job. I feel like we're practicing the right way, and so that's a product of your training, in my opinion. And the good thing is that I think the percentage of live reps that we've had in relationship to our team crossover is the highest it's ever been. So, you would think, okay, you're doing a whole lot more tackling. There should be more injuries, but no. In my opinion, you get injured when you're not doing things the right, training the right way, eating the right way, sleeping the right way. So it's credit to the team and our strength staff and nutrition staff, everyone involved in making sure guys are training the right way.
What's the separation look like with your first line and second line in terms of the offensive line?
I would say no separation. Right, everyone is competing. Everyone's competing, and everyone needs to know that they don't have a starting spot. It's no starting spots until the week before we play. People pay attention to depth charts. I've never thought a depth chart doesn't mean anything until the week of the game. That's when a depth chart means something. So until then, everyone just own your 20 square feet, keep improving, find out what your deficiencies are, and work your butt off to get better at them.
Can you speak to Nate Johnson and his kind of...
Oh, that's another guy. That's another guy that's fully bought into being a wide receiver that's making play after play. Was really inconsistent last year in terms of catching the ball, in terms of doing the things that I think he was asked to do in terms of finishing routes and being a hand catcher. All that stuff he has fully bought in. Bump has done a heck of a job with him, and to Nate's credit, what a great mindset he's coming to this offseason with, and he's seeing the benefits of it.
A couple weeks ago, you said you needed to see more from your corners. How have they developed over the last week and a half?
I'm actually pretty pleased. I look at, because we lost Smith, so you're looking at the nickel position, and Rock Caldwell and Nick Brown. That's a guy that's really stepped up. He's got to have a heck of a summer though, because he's just a little bit too light. But speed-wise, really good. And Caldwell, smart, heady football player. His length is an issue, and he's gotten faster. So I really like the nickel position. Eli Reed on the outside, Scooby leading, Bobo Chenault. So we've definitely got the guys there, and Sharif's doing a great job coaching them up. So, yeah, I know I mentioned that early on, and the progress has been great.
Bert Kirkland is someone who, maybe could have gone and started elsewhere. What does it say about him that he came back to Utah?
That he loves it here, that he loves the culture, that he sees himself as being able to succeed here. He's a competitor, and for guys that love to compete and you look at this place, why would you want to leave? You've got a fan base that loves the players. You got fans that show up every single home game. We're a winning program, and he's sitting there in a sweet spot right now. So, absolutely love Bird and his attitude, and I think you all have seen the progress in the time that you've been out here, right? it's pretty awesome.
You guys have expanded your recruiting into the South a little bit, and when I asked Sharif a couple weeks ago just about some of the negative recruiting stereotypes that you guys have to battle, you've seen it as the defensive coordinator. I'm curious, as the head coach, how do you answer some of the questions just about the state of Utah and just what it is to recruits?
I let the visits speak for themselves, and I've recruited Houston my entire career. And I maybe can count on one hand the amount of times I've figured I've had to face negative stereotypes. I think that's more of a myth than anything. I think when people visit and you recruit them enough and you establish these relationships, they see what we're all about, and more importantly, they feel what we're all about. I tell recruits and their families, don't pay attention to what you see. Everyone's going to have great facilities. Everyone's going to have great support. Pay attention to how you feel, and that's culture.
All right, there is Morgan Scalley. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
FM Colville, 1280 KZNS AM Salt Lake City, and KSL FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
The National Basketball Association is running out of days. It won't be long now before we get to the playoffs, PK. We've gotten so close, so much time, so many games passing by. I know you're ready for this thing to be over.
The league can shut down for all I care. In terms of your
the Thunder beat the Clippers 128-110. They have clinched the overall top seed in the West, and they will have home court advantage in the NBA playoffs. Top teams in the West have already moved past the top teams in the East, so the NBA Finals ought to start in the West, unless we get some upsets here and some lower seeded team.
Well, they'll have it as long as they win. They lose one game, they don't have it.
Well, there you go. Thunder and Spurs both over 60 wins. That's 64 now for the Thunders. They just stack up the W's. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
The transfer portal getting so busy now. Moo Davis, Dominic Diamante announcing they are entering the transfer portal, joining Rob Wright and Xavier Stetton as they are entrants. They're taking off. However, Kentucky guard Collin Chandler entered the portal, and there are a lot of reports coming out of Kentucky that they expect the former Farmington High School star to come home to the Wasatch Front and play for Kevin Young and the BYU basketball program. So, guys coming and going, it looks like there will be very little to no continuity from last year, PK, as one guy after another is popping into the portal here.
Well, yeah, the other guys, who really cares if you boil it down? I mean, they were just minor role players. Wright, I don't know that he's made a decision that he's gone for sure. The bidding has just commenced as the auction. Instead of the transfer portal, they'll call it the auction portal, and have people there. I hear 1 million. I hear 1,500,000. I hear 1,700,000, and go from there. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think he's ruled out the possibility of returning. And plus, it seems like too, when all these kids, local kids, leave, the majority of them, and I don't have numbers, but off the top of my head, the way I feel about it is the majority of them find their way back, one way or another.
Well, there are more guys out there this year. We'll see if they find their way back. DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL. Houston Texans exercising their fifth-year option on quarterback C.J. Stroud and defensive end Will Anderson Jr. Stroud's going to make $25.9 million. Anderson will make $21.5 million. Both salaries fully guaranteed. Texans, they're a playoff team more often than not. The trick for them now is figuring out how to make a deep run. They haven't been to a conference title game yet, but keeping C.J. Stroud at 25.9, that is a bargain for good quarterbacks these days. So they'll enjoy that fifth-year option as he plays his way through his rookie deal. Perspective. People get perspective, PK. Kirk Cousins, late in his career now, fully aware of the situation in the Raiders, knows Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana, anticipated top pick, will join him there. Quote, the best player needs to play. If that's not me, I don't want to be out there. I don't think that's the best thing for the team. If I'm the best option, then I believe it's important that those guys are out there. I'm excited to get the chance to lead, help influence in the locker room, do my part, and most importantly, help our team win.
That sounds good on paper, but I want to hear someone say X player is the best option. I'm not the best option. Every player will agree with the best option should play. That's like there should be a world peace and there should be fairness in all things. So he really didn't say anything until he says, if it comes to that, Mendoza, whomever, is the best option. Of course you think you're going to say the best option should play. What player is going to disagree with that? It comes down to whether they admit that the opponent that you're competing with is the best player.
All he's done is crack the door for the other guy. He hasn't slammed the door on himself yet. That would be the next thing. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
An NCAA panel is scheduled to discuss potential changes to eligibility rules that will incorporate age into the process. The proposal would give athletes of eligibility with a clock starting at the earliest of two dates, either when they turn 19 or when they graduate high school. There would be limited exceptions, including maternity leave, military service, and religious missions. But they would not involve injuries, which has been a common reason for players to ask for extra eligibility. No waivers, red shirts, etc. would apply in this model. So, you like it, PK, or they're just moving the bag back?
Well, you get the extra year, so they're saying you can compete for 5 years.
Yep.
So, give and take. We'll give you this, but we're not going to give you that. So that's, yeah. I don't know that that's the biggest issue that I think needs to be addressed, but if that's what they want to do, I'll wake up in the morning and come to work and go to bed at 10 o'clock, and life will go on.
Notre Dame holds media availability. Here come the messages from the Irish. Cornerback Leonard Moore, we're on a revenge tour. They were left out of the college football playoff last season. We got to get back. We got to make it right from last year. And quarterback C.J. Carr, we got to get back to work. We got a new team coming in. We're going to be really good. We have draft picks all over the field. We have a chance to be really special. The Irish ready for a big bounce-back year and ready to claim one of those 12 playoff spots.
Well, I think, there's a local angle to it since they'll be coming to Provo, Utah. So
there
that's
it is.
Worth talking about and following.
Yep. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Well, they didn't do what I expected. The loophole you were looking at, PK, is exactly where they're going. The penalties for that big fight 2 nights ago are now out. Soler and Lopez each get a 7-game suspension. Lopez appeals. It's reduced to 5, so now he doesn't miss his next start. Suspended from games he wasn't going to play in. It's like a spring football suspension in college. I'm suspending you in May. But in September, it's go time.
I know all about suspensions.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. Former
Dodgers legend Davey Lopes passes away at the age of 80. A 4-time All-Star, big-time base stealer, big-time winner, as part of a Dodger infield that seemed to stay together forever. Won World Series, went to World Series, went to the playoffs, played legendary games. It was a very good era in Dodger baseball. Davey Lopes Went on to coach later on, stayed in the game, but he passes away now at the age of 80. There's a name from your youth, PK, a name from my youth.
Oh, absolutely. I was exchanging texts yesterday with a good friend of mine, lifelong Dodger fan, literally, former college roommate that I had. And I said, wow, man, he was the infield of my youth.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, the Garvey, Russell, Say, and Lopes were the longest-running infield. I think they were like 8-9 years. And I told him, I said, yep, every year I could count on them as a team. They were like the zits that appeared on my face. They were there every year.
Salt Lake Bees lose 14-8 to the Reno Aces. Game 3 in the series tonight. First pitch set for 7 o'clock. Coverage of the game begins at 6:50 on 1280 The Zone with Tony Parks. DJ and PK.
#golf.
The Masters gets underway. First tee times coming up in a couple hours here. Augusta National Golf Club.
First tee time, aren't they playing right now?
They're already going.
Okay. Somebody wrote. Oh, excuse me. Mike Weir tees off at 9:27. Not everybody. My bad. I thought that was late. That'd be 11:30 back there. Yes. Mike Weir, local tie, tees off at 9:27.
Jose Mario Alafable is -2. He's got a par putt on 3, and he drains it. Yes, it's in. He stays at -2 after 4. He birdied 2 and 3. A beautiful day in the southeast right now. I'm watching it as we speak.
How old is Jose Maria Olazabal now?
Oh, I mean, I think he's like 72.
He's not 72, PK. Come on.
No, he's not my age. You're right.
He is 60 years old.
Yeah. A former winner. Good for him. A lot of green hats. Katoa. Katoa, if I pronounce it right. He's +1. He's got a par putt right now. He takes the club back. And it's in the shadows, but the ball does not disappear, so therefore it did not go in.
Bryson DeChambeau is going to play with a 5-iron this week that he made on a 3D printer. Technology, PK. What would Ben Hogan think?
Well, as opposed to making it on your kitchen table, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, as opposed to, going down to Home Depot and buying something and putting it on a lathe and making it. I don't know. A 3D printer. Technology striking.
Cabrera is -1. He spent some time in an Argentine prison, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Now he's out.
Tax evasion?
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Oh, who hasn't evaded taxes? He's -1. He's a player. He's older now. He's got a. Did he win? Did he win a Masters? I know he won at least one major. Max Homa. He's eyeing a putt. He's standing over it. This is a lot of fun.
Prosecutors are seeking Tiger Woods' prescription drug records from a pharmacy a week after his vehicle crashed in Florida, and he was arrested on suspicion of DUI. So
does anybody think anything is going to come of this? People with access to money, don't they just have different laws than the rest of us?
Seems like their lawyers usually get them treatment the rest of us can't get. Yeah.
Well, there's this guy. I didn't know him. He's dead now, but he butchered 2 people. And what happened to him? Also, come on. You got access to money. Come on.
DJ PK.
#NHL.
Utah Mammoth are back at it tonight. They host the Nashville Predators in the Delta Center. Puck will drop at 7 o'clock. Big game here in the race. Can they pick up 2 more points as they inch closer to clinching in the Western Conference? They are sitting on 88 points. Can they get to 90 tonight? Nashville's only 4 points behind them. Now, the Mammoth have a game in hand. The Mammoth have 5 games left, and Nashville just 4. So just about wrap things up with a win tonight. Kings are on 83 points, also chasing. So big game for the Utah Mammoth, and the goals have been Goals have been flowing. Was it like 26 goals in the last 4 games? It's unreal. They've been stacking them up. I guess it's probably 25. That's just a ton of goals. Also, Washington Capitals legend Alexander Ovechkin says he'll make a decision on his future this summer. Will he play one more year?
Me too. I'll have a decision this summer about my future.
Yeah, your decision will probably be yes. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Of course, this is what is trending. Why do I do that? It is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. I think I've heard you do too many reads, PK. It's just burned into my brain. I can't avoid it now. 8 o'clock, Brian Taylor is here to help PK do play-by-play on the Masters Championship. 9 o'clock, Mark Durrant on BYU basketball, the transfer portal. What should next year's team look like? And Cole Bagley, Mammoth Insider for KSL Sports, joins us at 9:30. It's also a Utah Mammoth ticket Thursday. We'll give away tickets later in the show to see the Mammoth and the Carolina Hurricanes Saturday at the Delta Center. That's all coming up. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Kyle Filipowski deserves a lot of credit. They're trying not to play him because he's been too good. So he's only playing 31 minutes, and he's scoring with an incredible efficiency, and he's actually playing tough.
4 straight games with over 20 points. He's been really, really good.
He's played tough enough that he can play big minutes on, not big minutes, minutes
as
at
a big.
the big,
Yeah.
on a contending team. And I wouldn't have told you that was true before the season. He might be 15 minutes a night 5. He might be a good enough 5 that you can wrong foot the other team.
15 minutes a night going into what will be year 3 now, and continue to play bigger. But yeah, I mean, he becomes a very valuable player.
If he can play a little bit at what was traditionally the 4, what is basically a wing, and be good enough defensively, then you've got yourself a stew going. You've got yourself a guy you can use.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G tomorrow from noon to 3. Tim Daly Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. Question of the morning. The Masters is underway. Is it must-see TV? Is it gotta-watch TV for you? You absolutely have to be locked in on the Masters. And the answer to that is, for a lot of people, yes. Now, there are people who aren't golf fans in here, and they are passing. But absolutely, Bill says, best tournament of the year. I'd say the Open is second. Would have been awesome to see if Tiger could make the cut, but he can't keep his cars on the road, shaking my head. I'm rooting for Rose, I'm rooting for Bryson, and I'm rooting for Koepka.
You said there are people passing? Well, that's good.
Aaron says,
get them off
only
the earth,
if you're
then.
paying me to watch.
Nobody's going to pay you to watch. Shut up.
Kevin, golf is not my thing. I'll pass. And Ben, I got to pass.
Nah. You got to watch it. You got to be up to date, man. If it's not your thing, plenty of people watch the Super Bowl and it's not their thing. You got to watch the Masters. It's Americana. I would say leave the country if you don't watch it.
Brady says, yeah, I got to watch 100%. I watch every ounce of it I can. The Masters is the Super Bowl of golf.
That's what I just said, and I didn't even know that.
Yep, there you are. You and Brady, mentally aligned. Now, he says, every ounce I can. It is tricky, and the Super Bowl, isn't getting played Thursday and Friday while people are presumably working. So when do people have to get dialed in? Do they watch Saturday for moving day? Just lock it down for the back nine on Sunday?
Well, we're talking primarily to BYU fans, and they're entrepreneurs, and so they have time in their schedule.
Take a little time off and watch it all.
Yeah, I mean, our show, at least for me, I target the elite. I don't really have time for the others.
Yeah. Hard to believe you get the feedback you get on social media, PK. I target the elite.
I do. They're the ones with the money.
Like
I want to make the clients happy. I mean, if you don't have money, I'm not really interested in you.
Tony says, I tune in for round 3 and 4 and hoping that the best of the best are at the top of the leaderboard then. I get that. It's a weekend. Let things shake out a little bit. You can still watch 6, 7, 8 hours of golf over the last couple of days.
But I thought that, March Madness is about the Cinderellas. How about April awesomeness? These Cinderellas, the no-namers having a shot.
The Jackson Harringtons of the world.
I don't know who that is.
He's an amateur who's 1 under right now and tied for second place. He's having his moment. I don't think we think he's going to be around on the weekend, but
yeah, in 3 minutes I won't remember his name.
That's probably true. Let the old guys like Vijay Singh and Jose Maria Althawal have their time on Thursday, but by Saturday, how close are they going to be to the top of the leaderboard? Cabrera, you mentioned him.
Well, you never know, man. I think, what was it, last year? Fred Couples was the oldest it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. He made it at 63. Made the cut, I'm speaking of. So that would be cool, but you don't really count on that. I could recall the first Black Desert tournament. They've had 2 now. So the very first one, which obviously would have been 2 years ago, and they had Jadon Blake play, the local guy, literally grew up in St. George. We know all that, right? And what was it? He had made 499 starts, and so this was going to be his 500th. And I was talking to one of the PR ladies, and she was saying she really, really hopes he made the cut. And I said, ma'am, you're a public relations person. You don't really know golf, do you? I said, he has no chance to make the cut. That's not what happens. It just doesn't. Now, he's still, if you take him compared to Joe Blow on the street golfer, yeah, but not compared to these guys. And that's the way this thing works. Is you don't have much of an opportunity because nature takes its course. Now, you can still go out because I think he was 65 at the time, or just about turning 65. So you can go out and have a good time golfing, but not at this level. And she sort of was surprised. It reminded me of the first time the Jazz were moving over to this other station that they're on a couple years ago. And one of the news anchors, she says, "Oh, I just have a feeling that this is going to be their year."
Yeah, I don't. Neither does anybody else, but okay.
Stay in your lane. That was embarrassing. Chrissy part 2. So, of course, Jadon Blake did not make the cut, but that was understood that you're just not going to at that age. It's very, very rare, and it wasn't going to happen. So we understand that Jack Nicklaus had the ceremonial first tee, and he hit a duck hook into the crowd. But he's 86 years old now.
Father Time's undefeated, and golfers take a beating just like everybody else.
Now, that doesn't mean they don't enjoy the game. I've golfed with guys 90 playing from the red tees. Yeah, and if you got your health and you can still get out there, just move up.
Yep.
And enjoy it. But I mean, all these guys out there are the supreme of the supreme, just to be able to be out there. And we know the top ones and all that. And they usually come through. It's hard to pinpoint which one. I wouldn't think Scheffler would be able to do his thing because dear sweet Meredith had just given birth just a couple of weeks ago to Remy, and now Bennett has a little brother, Remy, and I'm just so excited for them as a family.
David says, the Masters is fun to watch, but it's not gotta watch. I'll tune in Saturday and see what's going on.
Okay, well, then if you're going to tune in Saturday, then you do watch it. I mean, what is gotta watch? But you want to watch, so therefore you gotta watch. And if you gotta watch, then you know what time it is. It's Masters weekend.
This is a little bit like you you were talking about with yesterday. We were talking about events. We were talking about the Mammoth and the place being packed, and it was clearly a high energy crowd for that Oiler game, and they were rewarded. It was a ton of goals back and forth. They were up out of their seats, cheering and screaming and carrying on multiple occasions. And you referenced the fact Ryan Smith has said Utah shows up, right?
Yeah.
There's an event.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a little bigger piece of how the whole country feels about championship events, that they all spike. And there's a kind of a curiosity among sports fans. It might be your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh favorite sport, whatever it is. But when you get to championship time, people still flip it on. I think there were like 10 million people watched UCLA blow out South Carolina in the women's college basketball title game. Because when you get to the championship, a lot of people are going to turn it on, even if it's lopsided, which that game was, and people are going to check it out. They're going to come for the show. And the Masters has got a super strong brand. It has a super strong field. And unlike the other tournaments, the other major championships, it's a course because you do check in on it every year. So you get a feel for it coming down the stretch. Right, those par fives, what's going to happen at 13? Everything's on the line.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is, in this particular sport, there is pressure at the highest level. No other sport, in all of sports, you name the sport, no one has the level of pressure that faces the individual golfer when he or she is over the ball, whether it's a putt, a chip, a drive, a fairway wood, fairway iron. This sport has the individual most pressurized situations. Name me a sport, and I will shoot it down with ease.
Well, the closest.
There's nothing close.
The closest would be the pressure a relief pitcher faces in the ninth inning, or the pressure of shooting a free throw.
No.
I guess in football, the kicker, they become so automatic now, it seems. It comes down to when one person stands there and everybody's looking at that one person to do something, and then how much defense is there? How much credit can you give to somebody else for doing whatever it is they do so that you, quote-unquote, fail in the big moment, right? And golf just doesn't have that. You stand over the putt, you hit it when you're ready, and it either goes or it doesn't, and it's your fault or it's your glory.
In the history of team sports, there has never been one play that decided the outcome. Ever. And there never will be. So if he misses a kick or a pass is dropped that should have been caught, there's dozens of other plays you can look at. That's why I can never get into the refereeing, because there's dozens of other non-calls and calls that should have been or shouldn't have been. You can never single out one. There's no one that's more important than the other. Because if you would have done this earlier, it wouldn't have come to that. We hear that all the time. It is constant. So in any team sport, at the free throw line, letter carrier can clank every free throw he wants under pressure. But there was other guys who did or didn't make the play earlier that led to it. So when there's so many plays. But in golf, it's one man, one woman, one ball, one club. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer afterward in celebration. And the pressure on it is just absolutely enormous, which is why almost consistently scores are higher on Sunday than they are Thursday. And what has changed? Maybe some pin placements have changed, but the amount of pressure is what is the big differentiator. That's it. It's why they talk about Johnny Miller in his 60s in San Francisco. What did he shoot, a 64 or something like that? And it's like 50, 60 years ago. And they still talk about it because it was Sunday. Sunday at the Masters. Sunday at fill in the blank. And the thing about it, too, is all of us who've ever touched a golf club and picked it up and gone out to the course have felt that type of pressure in their minds, even though it doesn't relate to anything close to what these professional men and women go through. But we've created the pressure because pressure is not a real thing. Pressure cannot be held. It can be identified or it can be eliminated. Talking to Mike Weir about that. How is it, Mike, when you're standing over something? Now, he experienced this very thing when he won his Masters. And he won it, I think, in overtime. I believe it was one hole.
Went to a playoff.
Yeah. And so how do you handle that? What is going through your mind? Plus, golf, you're out there 4 or 5 hours, and you're actually doing something for a total of 4 minutes. So you have all this time to let your mind get in the way. Was Tiger that much more skilled than the other guys, or was he that much more mentally tougher? Clearly, it is about the mental toughness, and we can go back and on the archives when I had an opportunity last October to speak to Nick Faldo, winner of 6 majors, 3 overseas there, and 3 right here, the last of which was 30 years ago, 1996. And he says that you have to be an 8 out of 10 in various aspects of the game, all aspects of the game, but you must be a 10 out of 10 mentally. There is no room for error. There is no margin. It is the only sport where you must be outstanding in every aspect. Was Greg Ostertag outstanding in every aspect? No. But he made enough money where he don't ever have to work again because he was tall and he could board and block a shot if he was in the mood, right? Well, in golf, you have to be excellent at every aspect or it will eat you alive. And then you have to be a 10 out of 10 mentally. There's no other sport that you have to do that. Absolutely not. You have to be so mentally tough. Yeah, and why we see Rory just almost fall to his knees last year. Because he had been in situations and it didn't work. What was it? When he was much younger? Didn't he shoot an 80 on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird, and you get this it's like you said, just playing in your favorite muni with whoever, maybe some of your friends you're randomly paired up with, you're playing for nothing, it doesn't matter. There are times we have all stood over a 4 or 5 foot putt and thought, oh, this could go left. Do I hit it? Do I hit it? And you're just like, I don't know. I don't. And there are times we've stood over a 15-foot putt and we're like, I'm going to make this. It doesn't make any sense. Why you would have so much confidence, you'd be so mentally strong in one situation, and another situation was physically should obviously be easier, and yet yank stab, pull that putter back and slam it at the ball and hope something good happens. That doesn't make any sense. Why would it putt this like 10 feet longer? Why would that be easier to make? And yet we've all stood over a putt and just thought, I know this is going in. It doesn't make any sense. It's
all
crazy.
of us who've picked up a club, we have choked one time or another. I will tell you myself, just almost 48 hours ago, there's a carryover for the Skins for like 3 weeks. And I had about a 4-foot birdie putt. And you never know until everything is complete, right? Because I could have birdied it, but so could have 20 others. At the same time, nobody could have birdied it except me. And so I have about a 4-foot putt and for birdie. And I'm thinking, wow, if I make this, I've got a shot at this 3-week carryover for Skins. And so my birdie putt, I will tell you what happened. So it's about a 4-foot putt for birdie. Mm-hmm. Well, then I had a 6-foot putt for par, which meant I missed the birdie putt, and I missed the frigging par putt. So I ended up with a bogey. And I play from the whites, and it's short, so I ended up 1 over. I earned some. It's pro shop money here. They can't give you cash here in Utah, and so I didn't get it. And then the results come out later in the day, or the next day, not that day, the next. So Tuesday they come out Wednesday, and somebody had a birdie on another hole, and it was the first hole. So there wasn't that much pressure because we just go 9. You have 8 more to go. He doesn't know, so it's not maybe he didn't think about the pressure. It's the first hole. He birdies. Nobody else birdies. And I was telling Yak this earlier in a commercial break. So he gets to skin $1,000. And you can
a lot
go
of pro
online.
shop money.
Yeah, pro shop money. You can go online and you can look at everyone's score. So last night at like 10 o'clock, I decide I'm going to start looking to see if anybody birdied number 11. Because then I'm going to torture myself even more. Uh-huh. And the funny thing, so I looked at about 15 golfers. Well, there's 100 play. I don't know how many play, but there's dozens. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to look at every single one and then torture myself. And after I 3-putt from 4 feet. I take the ball. There was nobody behind us, so we had time. I put the ball back in the same spot, no pressure, boom, make it right away. And so it was all about pressure. And I saw you choke under pressure, and I was surprised.
It's happened many times. The one I thought of immediately, you weren't there, but you've been there for plenty of them. Where did I miss a birdie putt?
It wasn't about that. It wasn't necessarily missing putts. It was we had an opportunity to play golf with the second greatest athlete who ever came out of Thunderbird High. And you sucked that day, and I felt that you were trying to impress him, and you were nervous as all can be, and that wasn't you.
I flailed about.
Yeah, it wasn't you. And the only thing I could think of is we were all trying to impress each other.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
I had I don't know if you've played Park Meadows, but I was playing there with Matt Coma took some of us up there. You know, Matt.
You were playing for Max Homa?
Matt Coma.
Oh.
Max Homa. Matt Coma. And there's a par 3 elevated. It's, I don't know what hole
Park
it is.
So you're at a country club?
No, I don't think it's a country club.
Park Meadows is absolutely a country club.
Really? Okay.
Isn't it now Jeremy Ranch?
No, it's just Park Meadows.
Oh no, you're right. No, it is. Yeah, you're right.
No, wait a minute. I'm on the left I-80. Where Mark Eaton?
Jeremy Ranch.
That's Jeremy Ranch.
Jeremy Ranch. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Jeremy Ranch.
You're playing Park Meadows. All right.
That's not a country club.
I haven't been to Park Meadows.
But I think it's
a private course. Yeah. Somehow Matt won something. He won something, so he got a thing for a foursome, and so he's taking us up there, right? And it's super. I mean, it feels like you're hitting off a cliff. And for whatever reason, I knock it to like 3 feet, and I got a birdie putt, and everyone's there. And it's side hill, and I missed it from like 3 feet. Brutal. At least I tapped in for par. I didn't have the 6-footer coming back, but holy cow! And everyone was going nuts because they're just tracking. It's going to be an ace. You're going to have a hole in one. You're going to have a hole in one. And it ended up with a super short putt, and then I missed the birdie putt. That was freaking brutal. Anyway, yeah, we've all been there.
I played with Mike Weir, and I had to change my underwear 3 times before I even got to the first tee. And first hole, par 5, I played it many, many times. And I triple. And and we played from the blues. He played from the blues rather than the back because that's where we're playing from. And I triple the hole. I'm totally embarrassing. And then I thought, okay, all right, I got that out of the way. He knows I suck. We're good to go, and he doesn't care. And then the other 17, after I relaxed, I had either a par or a bogey.
Yeah. And I just saw a thing they were asking everyone how big a lead would an amateur need on Sunday to win. And guys were saying, like, the guys who were optimistic thought a 20-stroke lead, but most of them 40, 50. A couple of people said 100-stroke lead. And there was another one, could an amateur win the Masters if they didn't have to do anything but putt, but they started every hole by putting from the farthest point away on the green. And the guys are like, ooh, and they were going through these holes like, well, that hole, you could putt that right off the green easy, and you could end up 50 yards off the green there, and then you'd be chipping back. And, yeah, they were like, no, you couldn't. Most amateurs couldn't win. All you had to do was putt, and they put you on the green, farthest point of the green, but nonetheless wouldn't win it. It's the gap is so big. And you're playing with a Masters champ, so he already knows you're not nearly as good as him.
Hence, it is the most pressurized sport of all sports. And if you argue with me,
a lot of us will be watching on Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We will take a break. We've got more on the Masters coming up. At the top of the hour, stay with us. We will go to Augusta, Georgia, and we will talk with Brian Taylor at 8 o'clock. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little BYU basketball. Mark Durrant is going to join us at 9 o'clock, the portal. More names in. Is somebody coming home? How many guys are leaving? We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around and talking sports. This is Scotty G and friends.
Tony Jones from The Athletic. When you get blown out at home by a team that lost 16 in a row, I applaud that lack of effort. That was impressive by the Jazz.
The lengths that the Jazz are going to pull this off and to make sure that they keep that pick. I got to say, this is the best front office in the league at this point. I'm all in. Because they're going to keep their pick, all right? They're going to get a top 5 pick. Listen, you ready for me to get wild on here?
Let's go.
I'm going to get
Let's
wild on this show.
Let's do it.
If the Utah Jazz get A.J. DeVance, they're winning an NBA championship within 3 years.
Lloyd, you rolling on that? Lloyd's got it.
Lloyd, you got that?
Wow.
Catch Scotty G and friends weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Question up on our Facebook page with several players hitting the transfer portal. How badly does BYU need to go get Collin Chandler? Steve. Oh, they got him. Steve is confident. Jesse. Meh. I'm sure BYU can find other guys. Most of the guys leaving can be replaced. Even Rob Wright. Collin Chandler would help for sure. Jesse's not getting too hung up on the makeup of the roster.
Now, Yak, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is it Collin Chandler or Chandler Collin?
Oh, here we go. Collin Chandler. It's Kennedy Chandler. It's Collin Chandler. Chandler is the last name of the day.
Okay, but I watched Friends growing up, and that guy, his first name was Chandler.
Chandler Bing, we know.
Phoebe was my favorite.
Phoebe was hilarious. She was out there, totally random.
That's why she was my favorite.
I thought so.
Well, this kid sure had a ton of hype coming out of high school, and then obviously goes on a mission and goes to Kentucky. And I've watched him play because of Mark Pope, and I figured that there was a chance that he would come back. That's the thing that I think that it's not about necessarily Collin Chandler coming to BYU. It's what I think Kevin Young needs to take more into consideration is the draw that BYU is for so many. And the draw for Kennard Davis and Diamante and Robert Wright, there is no draw for BYU. It is the money and maybe the opportunity to play for Kevin Young. That's the draw. But BYU is not the draw. Well, for Collin Chandler, all of the money and the other stuff, but I can say that, and maybe he might be different, but I think I'm confident saying this for a decent majority, if not a large majority, of many LDS kids, BYU is the draw, in addition to the other stuff.
Well, he was committed to BYU once upon a time.
Right. And so with that in mind, if the kid is good enough, go hard after these kids. And maybe you already are. And you might look at, well, all right, he is not a 4 or 5 star. But some of those kids and a lot of those kids out of Michigan weren't 4 or 5 stars. But you put them in a system with great coaching and all the other things that go into it, and you win the title. And so instead of going after a Diamante, and I'm just using this as an example, so don't take it literal, going after a Diamante, maybe you go after the Welling kid who was a local kid at corner and then moved, I think he went to Irvine and then UVU. Maybe you go after those types of kids rather than what you think might be a higher upside, and then that kid, as a redshirt freshman, doesn't get a lot of minutes, but is out the door. Literally the first chance he gets, he's out the door. And if you get some of these kids where BYU is a significant reason why they're going there, in addition to basketball, in addition to money, and whatever else it might be. I'm not discounting the money whatsoever. I'm just saying that there's other things. Go after those types of kids. And those types of kids can help build your program. And then you can rely on them in a role-playing type situation, which you need. You can't have 5 stars out there. It just doesn't work that way. You need kids to fill roles for you. And so that's what I would say. If Collin Chandler wants to come back, and they got to pay him and blah, 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 I get that. And it's hard. Oh, yeah, well, he grew up a Ute fan. Well, this is what we have now in the mid-2020s is what we had in the 90s. There was a bunch of kids that may have been BYU fans, but they couldn't go there because the program was in shambles compared to what Utah was. So if you wanted to play winning basketball, which everybody does, winning whatever, you want to do it. So these LDS kids here in the 90s, if they wanted to stay local, they pretty much had no choice that they had to go to Utah because BYU was way down. Well, now it's reversed. Crazy enough, right? 30 years later, it's reversed. So these kids like a Chandler, whoever it might be, if he wants to be local and play in a winning program and he wants to play in the Big 12, he's got no choice. Now, you can go to Utah State. I understand that. But if he wants to play in the Big 12, he's right. And it's unfortunate, and I don't take any pleasure in saying it because I got a lot of stake in that Utah program back when I was there for 10 years, day after day after day. And it sort of pains me because I know what that program can be, as we all do. And it's not there right now. Plus, we got a guy that we like coaching the team, so we want to see it get back up. But it's going to take some time. Whereas BYU, they're shooting minimally to go to the tournament every year, and the roster is depleted right now. But when we get to midsummer or when we go down and have the lunch with Kevin Young at Riverside in the end of July or August, we're going to be thinking they're an NCAA tournament team. Kevin Young has already established that, right? So that's what I would say. Look at those role player kids who want more to be at BYU, and if it doesn't work, you take the look. The Kozlowski kid, has he put his name in the portal? Maybe he will. I don't know. But he hasn't played. He's been injured, but he's still there.
He's local. But, PK, you've got a whole coaching staff of people, with one exception, who's not local, and I don't know if they understand the power of that fact. You know, the draw of playing within close proximity of a lot of family and friends.
Sure, but Brian Santiago could tell him. Travis Hansen could tell him.
Exactly where I was going to go.
Nate Austin can tell him.
There's an AD who knows it, who's lived it, who was in the basketball program, but the staff doesn't know that. Well, why would I want this player? This player over here is better. Maybe only marginally, but better nonetheless. And for the guys who are going to be here, I still think the top of the recruiting class, one and done, go and get them. But for the quote-unquote program guys, the guys who are good enough to be on the team but not help you win as a freshman, but maybe they can by the time they're a junior. I mean, everyone's, mourning the injury to Saunders, but it's like, he wasn't crushing it like that as a freshman. I mean, most people Jimmer didn't crush it like that as a freshman, right? Most guys take time. But if you're not from here, are you going to listen to outside voices and maybe take off? Now you can go right back to Jimmer. Jimmer wasn't from here. The transfer rules were super different. But
BYU meant something to him.
Looking for people who who have some kind of tie because it gives you an edge. And since this is free agency every year, you need an edge the day you sign them. You need them an edge after the freshman year when you're trying to hold on to them. You need another edge after the sophomore year. Utah State's done it really well, obviously, with Sam Merrill and now obviously with Folslev.
Okay.
And Templin's not from here, but
and what do those guys have in common?
Local guys grew up rooting the team.
Folslev and Templin. They're both LDS.
Yeah. Yes.
They want to be in the environment. I mean,
They
let's
do.
call it like it is.
Yeah. Templin's from Texas.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he still wants to be here.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, we're going to Augusta next. Brian Taylor joins us. Stay with us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Masters update, Jose Murillo Thauble, 2 under through 7, tied with Sam Burns for the lead as they start playing. You still doing play-by-play in the studio, PK? Still screaming at the TV?
I'm just watching passionately. VJ Singh's up on par 3, 193 yards. I once worked out in the same hotel gym with VJ Singh, with his trainer giving me the evil eye at the entire time he was there, was telling me without saying a word, don't you dare get within 20 feet of us.
I need a protective bubble.
Yeah, it's like 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah. All right, let's get to Brian Taylor joining us from Augusta National.
This 2026 Masters Update live from Augusta is brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Brian, good morning.
Good morning from Augusta. Can you believe it? 90th Masters is officially underway. Bob and I got up early to get out there and watch the honorary starters, and man, such a cool thing. A lot of pageantry, a lot of tradition. Just love this stuff.
Everybody talks about how spectacular that piece of property is, and it's growing, right, as they purchase stuff that's adjacent and expand the property. Waiting for the Masters to start, I'm watching a bunch of stuff and reading a bunch of stuff. Apparently, they've done a ton of stuff. Like TV trucks are underground now. Player parking is underground. This is turning like into Disneyland for golf here. They've got all the stuff backstage hidden from the public.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the behind the curtain stuff is amazing. I mean, even this press building that, gosh, I think we're going on, got to be close to 10 years in this quote unquote new press building. And, we walk out the back door, we get into a golf cart, they take us down under a tunnel, and then we, surface back up near where the old press building was and near the first fairway. And then they drop us off right there, and you're kind of there. So yeah, and there's another tunnel that you can see that goes down, and comes up in the founder circle. And right there is where the new Player Performance Center is. And the players are parking underground. And it's this spectacular building, to house the players and their families. It's got physio, it's got, restaurant, it's got relaxation, it's got locker room and all that stuff in there. And, I did a little walk through the golf course yesterday and stopped at the little sort of service area. You've got concessions, and you've got merchandise, and then there's the restrooms. And I just have to, and I think this is okay for radio, but first time I came to the Masters, the men's room was the old trough. You guys remember the trough? You guys had to have experienced the trough in the past. That
the
was
trough. Yes. That was San Diego.
An uncomfortable
the
experience.
San Diego had that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an uncomfortable experience. And I, I was like 26 years old, and it was like kind of a, it's a coming of age moment to be able to, actually, make that thing all work. And so I walked in there this week, and it's this like state of the art, facility. It's unbelievable. It's like so nice in there. I'm like, there's not really anything that could maybe show progress quite like that. So, but so it is amazing, and it's expanding. And I'm sorry for that story.
I've covered golf in multiple states, right? But obviously I've not covered the Masters. So I have an idea of how many credentialed media would be there. Compare that, and I know you have too, compare that to how many credentialed media are there in Augusta.
Compare a credential media in Augusta to where?
Any other tournament. The
other PGA Tour.
Oh, regular golf tournament?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it much bigger?
Oh, gosh, it's got to be like 25 times, I would think. Maybe
that's
more.
what I was wondering.
Yeah. I mean, a typical, I'm trying to even compare it to other majors, right? Like going to the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship. I would guess there's got to be more here. I mean, this is the biggest. It's the biggest event in golf. I think that's safe to say. It's one of the biggest events in sports. And listening to the chairman yesterday, listening to him, how he has this understanding and of the fact that it is one of the top events in sports, that kind of their responsibility to continue to create the best experience, not only for the players and those attending, but the press and everyone that's here, right? I mean, they take every single aspect of that and they want it to be this experience unlike any other, and they do that. They focus on that every year, and then of course they focus on the ways that they can contribute to the community, their core values, all that kind of stuff. And we talked about how they redid the local municipal golf course here, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's amazing. The practice facility that I'm staring at, just outside the windows here is unlike anything. Scotty Scheffler said he could spend all day. He could wear himself out on this range. It's so great to practice at. So that's something he's like, I have to consciously not do that so that I can conserve some energy.
When you interact with these guys, so much of this game is mental. I'm just curious, watching press conferences or practice rounds, do you get the feeling that some of these guys are really dialed in, some of these guys maybe not, some of these guys, well, in the case of Rory McIlroy, all the pressure off his shoulders? What kind of feeling do you get? Because you can get fairly close to these guys and you listen to them talk.
Yeah, that's a really good question, DJ. I mean, you think about Rory specifically. He pulled the curtain back quite a bit this year. He was very relaxed, and he shared a lot of things. He talked about how he tried multiple approaches when he came here over the years. Sometimes he would come really early. Sometimes he would show up late. Sometimes he would get out and do a lot of practice rounds, others fewer. He would do media, and then he did a year without doing media. Like, these guys all take different approaches as, to try to handle all of the, the pressure that comes around, trying to win this green jacket, the coveted green jacket. And so, Matt Fitzpatrick, a real analytics guy, uses analytics on a weekly basis to create his game plan and his execution and what he's going to do. And he was asked, how do you balance analytics with sort of the feel, in this game? And he, specifically here to Augusta, how it's so unique and different. And he says that, he tries to treat this like every other week, and he even acknowledged in a separate question when he was talking about his preparation and form, he again said, you're supposed to treat this like every other week, right? So I think players consciously try to stay in their routine of an every week type thing, because golf is that way. I think athletes are that way. I think they like they're very routine based. I think they like to do things the same all the time, especially when things are working, and not try to get too off that schedule. But it's hard to do that here at Augusta. Jason Day talked about the par 3 contest and how, amazing it is that that's on a Wednesday, that there's so much fun and laughter and lightheartedness, around that event on a Wednesday before a major. And his quote was, typically guys get pretty quiet about Wednesday, before a major championship. So there's a lot of just differences and nuances to certainly what this is. And all of it plays into making it, the event that it is and the unique experience.
You spoke about the chairman of the Augusta National Golf Club and Masters Tournament. That's Fred Ridley, and he's been talking about rolling back the golf ball. What do you take from that, and do you think that will get to that point? Because obviously these guys are bombing it unlike any other time.
Yeah, I mean, his quote, failure is not an option, not only for preserving Augusta National, but also just the integrity of the game going forward. And so he, again, reaffirmed his support. It's not his job to undertake this, but he is, certainly in support of this. This is the USGA and the RNA. They're the governing bodies for the rules of golf for most of the world. And so their initiative originally was to come out 2028 for the professionals and then 2030 for the rest of the game. And it's kind of since been pushed back to, hey, we're going to just shoot for 2030 for everybody. And, he used that kind of also piggybacking off of the changes that they look at. And he said, whenever they look at making any changes to Augusta National, they want to stay true to the design, factors that Alistair McKenzie and Bobby Jones used when they created Augusta National. What are the shot values? What was the intention for shot and for play and that kind of thing? So it's not just like, hey, we need to. 13 is a good example. That was a big change a couple of years ago where they lengthened the tee on 13. And he said, players are hitting more drivers now, where I think it was up to 90% were hitting drivers, where it was down to 40%. And then it creates this decision. They get into a spot where, because they're not hitting it into the pine straw, they're actually in a position to make a momentous decision, which was Bobby Jones' words, about now going for this green in 2 on a par 5. And so that was one of the things that he wanted it to be, and it sort of had drifted away from this momentous decision because it was just 3-wood, short iron, and that's not a momentous decision. That's just how you play the hole. So I do think there's concern, though, right? I mean, he talked about the first hole. There's really nothing they can do without taking out Eisenhower Cabin, which they don't have any intention of taking down Eisenhower Cabin. And so that was a kind of a lighthearted comment to say, we have a lot of resources, a lot more than most golf courses, and we don't want to have to continue to lengthen this, this property. But most places don't have the luxury that we have, and so something needs to be done to roll this back. Now, the other side of that is later that day, Bob and I were sitting under the tree behind the clubhouse talking with a leading industry executive in the equipment world, and his comment was, look, we're built to beat that. I thought that was really interesting. So if you go back 20 years, the USGA came out with limits on the COR of drivers, the trampoline effect and how a ball could trampoline off the face of a driver. They put limits on that to try to squash the distance. And those same manufacturers created ways within those parameters to make the ball go further and straighter off the face, right? So he basically said, we're going to do what they tell us to do. And he said, the best players in the world might lose 4 or 5 yards, and the rest of us won't notice anything. And they'll continue to innovate to be able to generate more distance, better ball flight under those new conditions. So it almost feels like, yeah, let's do something about it, but how much is this really going to impact the distance in the game as it goes forward? So I thought that was it's an interesting discussion that I think will continue to unfold over the next few years.
I remember Jack Nicklaus talking about this, and it had to be 10 years ago, and it might have been longer. Maybe Jack's been talking about it forever. I don't know. Maybe it goes back to when Tiger was revolutionizing distances off the tee. Do something about the golf ball. And I get your point that whenever there's a rule, people will try to find the loophole. The NCAA recruiting, that's been famous for that. But you have to be who the NFL is. It's why the NFL is the NFL in part. It's like they make a rule to make the offense better. The defense figures out how to get the upper hand. As soon as scoring drops, the offense figures out how to the rule makers figure out how to give the offense another advantage. It's been going on forever. I don't think they can take a one size, we've done it. Now we've done it. It's just going to have to be an ongoing thing because someone will always be looking for a loophole and looking for an edge.
Yeah, and it's and whether it's a loophole, I think it's their core business, right? And the other side of it is the USGA and the RNA. They sit back and they make these decisions, and this is not being critical of the USGA. They see a need here, and so they say, well, this is what we're going to do. But then they don't really have to deal with the ramifications of it. All of a sudden, the manufacturers, and speaking to this one particular, he said, look, we've spent millions of dollars already in R&D, retooling, all the things we have to do in order to generate this new golf ball. And then you start looking at bifurcation. And so what if it did come to bifurcation? Now we're going to have to spend millions of dollars to create a product that no one's going to buy because the professionals don't buy their equipment. It's
Right.
given to them, right? The whole business model is let's sell it to the consumers based on what their favorite players and the best players in the world are using. And so if that suddenly becomes different, well, Scotty Scheffler's ball is not necessarily the ball you're buying. That changes marketing. It's a cost, factor for the manufacturers. And will they continue to do that? At the same time, if you're the tour and people want to come out here and they want to watch these guys bomb the drives, do you really want to try to roll that back to where it doesn't look like they're bombing it as far as the guys at the club are bombing it because they're using a shorter golf ball and those kind of that suddenly now affects the look of your product. So there's so many nuances to all of this. And yet at the same time, at its core, it's like, okay, if you're just back home and I'm going around Alpine Country Club and I'm 52 years old and I'm hitting driver wedge into all the par fours, that's not necessarily the best thing either, right? I mean, there ought to be a time when you're hitting 7 irons and 8 irons and 6 irons. You got to, we have 14 clubs in the bag. Let's try to use them all. And so I understand that there's an issue. I just don't know exactly what the resolution will be.
And it's up to the leadership to make all these decisions to promote the game, put it in its best possible foot, basically, I guess, going forward. And I'm wondering, Brian, how much you really trust that leadership because you are a U of U guy who bleeds red, and the PGA Tour CEO, Rolap, is a BYU grad.
Yeah. So clearly, I'm already at odds.
Right, exactly.
With that man who we share the same first name, but I've never met him.
I can tell there's a lot of friction there, even though you've never met him, just because of the rivalry. And especially now, Brian, since BYU, especially now, Brian, since BYU clearly has the upper hand on Utah.
DJ, was PK just sitting there while we were talking about all this going, okay, this is getting really boring. We got to shake this up.
Yes.
We got to do something here.
I mean, you were getting a little technical there, and DJ was licking his lips, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, will this end? That's the difference between the two of us.
We're not going to talk about Olazabal, who's leading the 90th Masters through 7 holes. I mean, it's not too late. You could throw some money at Jose Maria.
I would love to talk about in honor of Seve Ballesteros. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the next closest thing we have to him. No offense to what's the other guy's name who won the Masters?
Rahm.
Oh yeah, okay. You got Rahm. Yeah, you got a few guys. I was thinking
Sergio.
I was thinking of Sergio,
yeah.
And then who's the old guy who wears the ponytail?
Miguel Angel Jimenez.
Yeah, where he made that statement. What do I care about making a putt? After this, I've got a bottle of wine and a gorgeous woman waiting for me. And I thought, that's gross.
No, you didn't. You loved that. Hey, by the way, during Rahm's press conference, he had mentioned about that at the Champions Dinner his first year they started telling Seve stories, and even though he had studied Seve and thought he'd heard all the stories, there was a bunch that were told that he'd never heard, and then he left it at that. And I'm like, really? I'm looking around the room, no one's gonna. I'm raising my hand. I'm like, hey, can we go back to these stories? Is there one you can share? And he shared a great story. So if you want to go, it's about 18:30 into his interview, you can hear him tell that story that they shared at the Champions Dinner about Seve. It was pretty good stuff. So
nice.
Love it.
Excellent. Well, Brian, thanks for the time. As always, get back out there. Where do you go next? What's the next? Go ahead and make us all jealous. Where are you going to go camp out and watch some golf?
I am heading out. We've got Xander Schauffele, who I know that, that's a big deal for you guys' bet, but he is teeing off momentarily, or maybe just did. And so I'm going to go out there and watch him go around a few holes. And Matt McCarty, the inaugural champion at Black Desert. Yeah, he's I think through 5 or 6. So I'm going to try to catch up with him, and then we'll find out how his second Masters is treating him when he's done. And saw Michael Brennan, who won last year's event, and he's playing in his first Masters. And I tell you what, man, that guy, he is fun to watch. He pounds. Speaking of distance, man, that guy can hit the ball. So he's going around in his first this afternoon too. So we've got, and then where's he? Just tees off here in about maybe 45 minutes. So we're going to try to catch a little bit of all those guys and then do some interviews afterwards and all preparation for the show.
Just make sure you bring your phone and talk loudly while you're out there.
In fact, why don't you call me while I'm standing next to the green? I'll turn my ringer on.
Okay.
Yeah, turn it all the way up.
Yeah.
Did Bob tell you we all passed on Scheffler? New rule, you can only draft a guy once a year. None of us trust him in the Masters. We all passed on Scheffler. Now
Meredith just gave birth, and now he's got Remy and Bennett he has to worry about. How do you expect him to think about golf?
I mean, there's 3 of you, so there's only 4 majors. So not one of you wanted to take them for a third green jacket. That does surprise me.
Well, he's all caught up in the birth of Remy.
No, that's just what he needed. Kind of get off the little distraction from some of the tough play he's had. He's going to come out here and light it up.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe you and I, you said Olazabal, maybe put some, big time, on that one, huh?
Side bet.
Yeah, I got you 5 guys hamburger on me. So if you want to put that on there, so
bringing back a pimento sandwich. That'll keep.
Hey, I sent the family. Ordered it 2 weeks ago. Taste of the Masters arrived at the Taylor house yesterday. So my fam will be doing the whole sandwich picnic thing, watching the Masters. So you can do that. If you haven't done that, you should definitely do that. It's pretty cool. The pimento cheese is not great though, but the egg salad and the barbecue, it's awesome.
And it's cheap.
So. Oh, yeah. Well, the Taste of the Masters is not quite as, but it does come with 24 souvenir cups and napkins, coasters, the whole thing. Like, it's a thing. It's fun. Do it. Check it out.
Brian, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Good to visit with you as always. Enjoy the Masters.
Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, Saturday morning, 8 to 10. He and Bob will have their show, and they'll be on alternating shows all day today and tomorrow with updates on the first 2 rounds. Coming up at the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst, Cole Bagley, Utah Mammoth insider at 9:30. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
DJ and PK, we just talked Masters with Brian Taylor, who's at Augusta National. Real Golf Radio is brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountain Land Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and You Win a Golf. If you missed that conversation with Brian, get it wherever you get your podcasts. Our whole show is podcasts. Individual interviews are broken out. Yak's got it up at KSLSports.com, at YouTube. Wherever you get your podcasts, it is there. Check it out. Question up on our Facebook page, PK, and this one, these two kind of go together. What will it take for college fans to revolt, and do the Cougars need to get Collin Chandler with everybody else leaving? And it seems like when you land one of these guys, everybody gets super excited. When one leaves, then everybody gets super bitter, and people aren't really going to revolt, are they? I mean, it's just, what is the last round? Is the last bit of news good news, or is the last bit of news bad news? And everyone it's riding a roller coaster. I'm sick of this. It's great. It's great. I'm sick of this.
But a lot of energy he brings, and he's fun to watch and all that, but he's going to get over $1 million. And really, that kind of cash to play. You're a decent player, I'll give you that, and you are fun to watch. But you're not a star. You're never going to be a star. Not even sure that you can make money playing across the world. Certainly not an NBA player. Are we looking at that? And this field of 68, I saw this morning, and I'm looking at it right now, pulled more than 10 high major head coaches and assistants and GMs for the prices of guys that are elite, right? Mm-hmm. Top 25. So big men now are commanding up to $5 million, point guards up to $4 million and wings 2.5 to 3. And then it's going to filter down. When we envisioned this, we thought, guys, the ones who are getting the attractions, like you really couldn't pay Jordan enough money.
Yeah.
Because, the amount of money he brought to everyone, it's the same thing with Tiger, right? Tiger took golf to a place where it had never been and made so many people so much money and coaches' salaries and so forth. And so a kid like a Keith Van Horn way back when, you'd see kids wearing 44 jerseys, but it couldn't say Van Horn, and he got no money. A kid like Jimmer, 32. Now, I don't know anybody's number on BYU's basketball team, but a kid who played 15 years ago, I remember his number. And that's Jimmer, right? And he didn't get any money out of it. And his parents, and I can recall, they were struggling financially. Man, that okay, yeah. But all this chaos that's in and around it, is that enough to say, I'm out? I wonder if it really is, because a few years back with the Kaepernick and the kneeling and this and, that's it, I am out. Those SOBs, forget that. I am not watching NFL football ever again. And basketball has gotten so woke, I'm done with that. Well, is that really just what you're saying in the moment? Because if you're saying that in the moment, that means you were in, right? And if you were in, probably like you, me, and Yak, you've been in for as long as you can remember, right? It's what we do. It's what floats our boat. It's what we talked to when our fathers were living, and you and I went through this exact same thing. We moved away, so most of our communication would be on the phone. And after big games, we would talk. And what would we talk about? Sports. It's an old Billy Crystal line in one of his movies. I couldn't talk to my father about anything when I was in my teens and 20s, but we could always talk about the Yankees, right? And so we were at opposite viewpoints of the world, and he's talking about when he was growing up, when it was the tumultuous 60s, but I could talk about the Yankees, right? We can relate to that. So that means you're in. And do you just get caught up in the moment saying, I'm out? But then over time, are you really out? I just wonder, are you really out? Didn't you come back? Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind you came back a little. Maybe, probably, you came back all the way. You just said, screw it, I'm not going to worry about that stuff anymore.
For every person that is out, and some people probably are out, there's a line of people who are in right behind them. And we just keep hearing about all these record ratings. And I know they've changed how they do the TV numbers, but look at attendance. I think for college football, I think the measuring stick is watch the 7 and 8 win programs. And the programs that live in that range pretty routinely, how do they do? Because if you're winning 10, 11, 12 games, it's pretty predictable you're going to have massive crowds. And if you're winning 2, 3, 4 games, it's pretty predictable you're not going to have anybody there. So show me what the teams are doing they're good, they're decent, they win more than they lose. And, if you win 7 or 8, you're probably winning most of your home games, right? You're probably more likely to lose an extra game or two on the road. Are those places still packed? And right now in college football, those places are largely full.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the issue, though. I'm asking, what's it going to take for you to be out? I'm not asking, what's it going to take for this sport to be decimated? Because I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's an individual thing. Your neighbor, Frank, is he out? I think that was the point of the question. Are you going to be out? Not is the sport going to be ruined and is it going to go away? Because I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, from that perspective, for me, the question is what would take you out? It'd be real life events. Which stuff in your real life requires attention? The sports becomes, okay, I don't have to watch that right now. Even in our line of work, if you have to occasionally miss a game, there are ways to catch up on what happened. And we see so many of them that missing one isn't really going to pull you out, and maybe in college football because there's so few. Excuse me, but missing one isn't really going to have you lose the storyline. So I don't know. The stuff that pulls me away probably isn't the game itself. It's probably more about real life.
Yeah, but in real life, you're making it sound like it's serious real life. So it's not little Joey's 5th birthday where you rent a pony or a jumping gym.
No, it's you're
talking about serious stuff.
If your friends and family spread out, do you have to travel to see them? And we all know when we travel, we lose track of stuff a little bit. And certainly there is the whole, serious, illness, death, funeral
Right,
stuff.
and that's
but
the stuff that makes me turn to it more.
Yeah, even in that situation, I was going to say,
I want
it's
release.
So funny, I remember all the regular. You were just talking the other day about how you remember all the NCAA. It was during March Madness. Like you remember all these NCAA tournament games that you covered, but all these regular season games blend together. And I remember one specific Utah regular season game back in their basketball glory days. They went to Oregon State and they won. And they didn't play great right away, but then they took control of the game. I think they ended up winning by 10 or something. And the reason I remember the game is because I was at the hospital. My wife was giving birth. And, you rush there at the first sign. It's the first kid. And, okay, it's going to be a while. And they give her something. They tell her to go to sleep. And now I'm sitting there wide awake at 9 o'clock at night. She's asleep. What am I going to do? I had the TV on and the sound down. And I was watching the game. So you're right. Even in these big life moments, okay, hurry up and wait for a few hours. And it turned out the kid was born 10 hours later. So there's a lot of waiting going on.
Right.
What are you going to do?
And
you're going to watch a game.
So I don't think that these sports will be irreparably harmed. No matter how, and I'm just using this as an argument. It isn't, I'm not necessarily my opinion. How woke the NBA is, I just don't think that it's going to be played where nobody cares. I don't see it. But I'm wondering how many individuals have made the decision to say, I'm out. How many BYU fans have said, I'm out? I just don't think there's that many. Although we get frustrated and, oh, man, they're pushing me to the brink. Okay. But they haven't pushed over the line. And you're not going to be over the line. And this Bruce Branch, who's a 4 or 5 star coming in next year, and if Collin Chandler comes, and they're going to have probably 5 others, and they've got the kid from Timpview coming in, and he's supposed to be really good, and we're all excited to see how he'll do, a sharpshooter, a tall kid, blah, blah, blah. I know somebody who works down there who's just been singing his praises to me for several years now, long before I even heard of the kid, and we're excited about that. And we're excited about Bear Bachmeier going into his sophomore year, right? And, man, this stuff, get out. And there's no loyalty. There's no this. There's no that. Blah, 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 blah. But yet, I don't know that I've really met a person that is out. I hear many people say, oh, I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
Or even if they say it, do they really stay out? So I don't know that there'll ever be a breaking point.
It's the frustration of the moment, I think, reacting to the last bit of news. Is the money going to get so big in college sports that people are going to go away? I would say no, because the money's gotten enormous in pro sports, and that doesn't seem to be driving people away. And for the person who does go away, there's 2 people in line right behind him.
But what I think,
and even when teams are, the Jazz are tanking and people know it, and there's still people in the arena cheering and screaming. And there's a secondhand market, so if somebody doesn't want to go, you list your tickets, you find a neighbor, whatever, and somebody else is in the seats.
I do think, though, that people will come to the realization that this doesn't mean that much, that it's just for fun. I think that will be more likely to be that. And when our teams win, we'll say, that was awesome in the moment. And then 3 days later, that was awesome. And now I got to.
That's an interesting point. Will, let's assume that this rebuild goes really well and the Jazz are making deep playoff runs, is there ever going to be the frenzy in this state that we saw when they went to the finals in 97 and 98?
If they got to the finals, but I don't think it will be a live and die type thing.
Yeah.
I think they'll enjoy it, and it'll be fun, especially in this. And no matter how big this state gets, it will still be small. comparative. And there'll still be a level of innocence. And I do think there's a level of spirituality that brings you into it, because especially when you did stuff with your mother and father and they're gone. And the team that the three of you rooted for, along with whomever, finally wins, you'll celebrate, not because that team has won, because it'll take you back to your childhood. And you did this more than I did, of going to these games. And makes you think of those times. That's what I think baseball has. You know, the romanticism of having a catch in the Field of Dreams and that type of stuff. And, you know, were you a really diehard live and die? Maybe not. But it bonded you with your father, or it bonded you with your mother, whomever it might be, or your brother, I don't know, whomever. And I think that's what, in its essence, sports is an experience that you share. It's not something that's done individually, right? Hardly anybody goes to the games alone, or maybe they watch the games alone if they're way, way into it. But I think most of us, that's what I think I see happening a little bit, is people finding, as you age and go through the ups and downs, particularly the downs, you look at sports for what it is, and it's still fun for you, but it doesn't have that overwhelming meaning. I can see that, but I don't see people saying, I'm out, forget it, goodbye.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up, top of the hour, we will talk with Mark Durrant, longtime radio voice, joining Greg Wrubell on the broadcast. His take on players coming and going and what the Cougars need to do to have a better tournament run next year. We'll talk with him at the top of the hour right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's time to give away some more stuff. Utah Mammoth tickets. Who wants to go? They're lower. I do. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. That's 575-9663. 801-575-9663. Caller 12 right now goes to see Carolina and Utah Saturday at the Delta Center. Colorado's got the best record in the league. Carolina has the best record in the Eastern Conference, sitting on 106 points, second highest point total in the entire National Hockey League. So, big game, difficult game. We'll see how the Mammoth handle it. They got the Predators tonight, who are 4 points behind them in the playoff race. So, getting right down to it, 5 games left for the Mammoth, 4 games left for the Predators. It would be a big deal if they can get a win tonight and pull away.
Most special, yes.
I'm intrigued by the thought of Collin Chandler coming back to town. And I wonder, PK, and I know you've heard this, Yock's heard it too, there are BYU fans who are upset that the recruiting has changed, right? But if the goal is to do something you've never done before, you need to recruit like you've never recruited before. However, don't think you can walk away from everything. You got to figure out this new balance of what is going to get it done so you can routinely be not just a tournament team, but a team that wins in the tournament. So there's a lot of Sweet 16. So there's more opportunities to finally win those games in the round of the Sweet 16, the round of the Elite Eight, and finally get that first trip to the Final Four. And Collin Chandler is interesting because it's the profile of a kid that BYU would have always wanted, right? Coming out of Farmington, and he's really good. But a lot of these players aren't going to be really good right away. And if BYU's trying to be really good every year, how many guys can they bring on who are projects? So this letting players go wherever they go, and it's weird to think of Kentucky as a training ground for BYU. That just sounds ridiculous to say out loud. But nonetheless, you look at what he did in his 2 years there, you know, as a freshman, he only played 10 minutes a game, and he shot 36%. I mean, that's just not good enough. He shot almost 35 from 3. As a sophomore, clearly he's improving, right? The shooting percentage goes from 36 to 43, and the three-point percentage goes from about 35 to 41. But still, you look at the end of the season, he did not shoot it well in the NCAA tournament. Actually, if you look at the last 5 games, last 2 SEC regular season games, and his last the 3 games they played in the SEC tournament, he shot less than 40% over that 5-game stretch. So there's still stuff he's figuring out. He's still growing. He's getting bigger. He's getting stronger. He's getting more experience. They need these guys. Maybe they'll need them right away as a freshman, but this, the thought of bounce-back kids, they may need a lot more of that.
I think it's a situation where you get in a pattern. So you don't rely on freshmen, but then those freshmen grow up, and then you recruit more freshmen, and then those freshmen grow up. It's like when Lavelle Edwards was having 2 quarterbacks every 2 years, play for 2 years, sit for 2 years, play for 2 years, blah, blah, blah. And so they had that assembly line thing going on, and I think that's what you want. And so you have guys that are learning as they go, and then their time comes and they're ready to go, and then you augment that. And so rather than having massive turnover every single year, because I don't think BYU's ever going to achieve the level of success that they want, no matter how much they pay these guys, if they're trading rosters every year, and they're going to do it again. He's going to be 3 for 3 in training and overhauling rosters, because right now they literally have no starters returning. 0. Right? None. And so you're going to have to overhaul it, because I don't think the guys that were the reserves are ready to be NCAA tournament level starters. Successful, not in the Big 12, maybe in the West Coast, but you ain't there anymore. You're in the Big 12. It's the Big 12. And so you need some horses. You need some studs. And they got to find a way to get those now. But because of bringing in all these kids who have little connection to BYU outside of basketball and a paycheck, and then they leave, you've put yourself in this position of that revolving door. And is there a way out of it?
All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk Cougar basketball, the trends in college basketball, and what BYU could and should be leaning into. Mark Durrant will join us next. Stay with us. DJ and PK.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
Oh, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Okay, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Move over, Jose Maria Olazabal. There's a new sheriff on top of the Masters leaderboard. Patrick Reed, Tommy Fleetwood, both 3 under. Olazabal in a group at 2 under. Max Homa in a group along with Dustin Johnson and Xander Schauffele at 1 under. Some of the bigger names getting out on the course now. Fleetwood and Reed, 3 under through 4 holes. That is flying here. Fleetwood's birdied 2, 3, and 4. Feeling it right now. Reed with an eagle at 2. That got him going. So we'll keep you updated on the Masters all day long. Bob Casper and Brian Taylor are joining us. Every show they're joining us from Augusta National, where they're watching the tournament. So, and they'll have their show there Saturday morning from 8 to 10. You watching any of these putts go in, PK?
I'm
any
watching
long
every
ones?
single one of them. Bombs away, dream babies. Yes.
Dropping 30-footers?
Yeah, I wanted to pick Fleetwood, but one of you two picked him ahead of me. Seems like he's one of these guys that is around, and will his time come? I believe in a lot of things. I believe this theory in life. If you work, and pursue, your time will come. I believe that those things will happen. You will not continually be turned away. You will be rejected. but there will be a time where you will succeed in what you're trying to accomplish.
DJ and PK, we're joined right now by Mark Durrant. You hear him on BYU radio broadcast for the basketball games, along with Greg Wrubell. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Hey, guys. Always a pleasure.
So the last 2 days have been pretty busy with guys hitting the portal. It looks like you're going to have to meet a bunch of new basketball players and get to know them. Does this surprise you at all, or is this the way you figured it was going to go?
No, I mean, I don't think any of us are surprised at this point. I remember thinking, this season, calling games, there were several games that the opponent had no one back from last year, a completely new team. And then there'd be the guys that, that had been on 5 different teams. So that's the way it goes. And you can complain about it. And I'm an old school guy, so I think back to the old days a little bit, but complaining about it's not going to change anything. And it's like trying to hold back the dam with a thimble. And so you just kind of go with the flow and try and know the system as best you can and take advantage of where you can and put together the best team you can and try and get some chemistry with that team you put together. So until, something changes, that's kind of where we're at, and no use complaining about it. Just kind of do your best with what you can do.
Yeah, there's no question that it is a system-wide issue. It's not particular to any particular school that you have this enormous turnover. I'm wondering, going forward with Kevin Young, as he's figuring things out, he's only going into his 3rd season as a college basketball coach, and he takes over in probably the most turbulent of times and chaotic times ever, and nevertheless you have to negotiate and navigate it. With that in mind, what would you say would be the best way for BYU to approach it? Could it be continue to do what you do, or try to find some stability so you're not overhauling the roster, even if that is possible?
Yeah, I mean that's the great question for Kevin Young, and I think he comes from a unique place with the NBA, and you're starting to see, I think, more NBA guys, coach North Carolina from the Nuggets, Malone, and I think that helps to come from an NBA mindset where it's more like what we're seeing now, players getting in. And anyway, I've been thinking about this a little bit, Pat, and I think the formula for BYU would be, listen, it's an LDS institution, so I think that the number one thing is you try and get the best LDS talent. Now, that's always been the case, except for when they took me. I was a mediocre talent, but well, it
was a favor because they got your brother.
Yeah, they did. They did. I was a legacy, but you always wanted to get the best LDS talent. But the pool now is bigger than it ever was, and the best LDS players are better than when I played. But what you have to do is not just assume that a kid is LDS that he's going to come to BYU. You need to pay them what they would get paid anywhere, and so you try and get the best LDS talent out there. And whether that's 2, 3, 4 guys. And one of the reasons I say that, because it just makes sense, because it's an LDS school. But also, when you've got historical ties and religious ties to an institution, you may have a little bit more stability. I mean, obviously, LDS guys transfer out of BYU all the time, but there might be a better chance to keep those kids and have a little bit better structure. And then, of course, you're not going to be successful unless you're heavily involved in the transfer portal. So you're always going to have 4 or 5 guys that are transfer portal guys and obviously you need guys that have proven themselves. I think it's a world today where there's no more kind of projects, and I think BYU had several project guys who that are enticing. You think, well, if I can just work with these guys for a few years, they're going to be a good player someday. I think that those days are gone where you can't afford to invest time in project players that might produce someday, because even if they do get good, then they probably will leave at that point and go somewhere else. So You've got to have proven commodities from where they were before, and get guys out of the transfer portal, and then it's a matter of maybe one, maybe two. I mean, the freshmen, the idea of bringing in a freshman is become much more risky and complicated because they don't have that track record. Even if they're really, I mean, they have to be really good out of high school, so you kind of know what you're getting. But even the best high school players sometimes don't translate great into college, and so. I mean, it's just too risky to go with freshmen and projects. So you're looking at, try and keep the core guys you can, get best LDS kids you can, and pay them, and then get the transfer kids in. I mean, I don't think this is new to anybody, and that's the world, like I said, we live in. The Michigans of the world bringing in transfers. That's how that's just how it's done. But I do think that Kevin Young is in a good spot to handle that because he has had experience in the NBA game, and he's not kind of like me, who's in the old school guy kind of pining for how it was. He's like, no, this is what I know. I'm not worried about what has gone on 20 years ago. And he's, I think, in a good position to be able to kind of navigate this. And also he's a young guy. He's going to make mistakes, but I think he's really driven to succeed. And so I think he's learning and picking up the things that he needs to do from year to year, and we'll get better and better as we go.
If the rumors about Collin Chandler leaving Kentucky and transferring to BYU are true, then does that set a new path for bounce-back kids, which we haven't really seen, but he played in Farmington. He goes away because, of course, we all think of Kentucky as a feeder school. Obviously. But to your point about freshmen, he only plays 10 minutes. He shoots 36%. His shooting numbers, his field goal percentage, his three-point field goal percentage, they come way up. Even as a sophomore, he's struggling late in the season at the end of the SEC tournament, and he did not shoot it well in their 2 NCAA tournament games. But if he's learning, growing, getting bigger, stronger, maybe as a junior he's ready to go. So does it become a case of, yes, they're going to be church members getting recruited to BYU, but not as freshmen. You recruit them, you get to know them, you stay in touch with them, and then for the guys who get better, you bring them back sophomore, junior, senior season, whatever it's appropriate.
Yeah, I think you're right, David. I think that's probably where a lot will happen. Obviously, BYU is taking a couple of LES freshmen this year. So that I think will always be part of it. But again, it's and certainly BYU would have loved to take Collin. I mean, they wanted to take Collin as a freshman, and because Mark Pope went to Kentucky, he had that connection that he went there. But there are other LES kids out there, a couple Clemson kids and others that have kind of shown that they can compete at a high level and contribute. And you don't even have to. I mean, you don't have to be superstars. You just need to show that you can make a team better and can contribute and give minutes. And so I think that, again, the risk level for a junior Collin Chandler is much better than the freshman Collin Chandler, although you would have gladly taken that risk with him. But with that said, I mean, everybody now knows that Collin Chandler is a great three-point shooter and is a super athlete and is on a track to be like a Richie Saunders, where, you make that jump from a sophomore where he was really good on a Kentucky team and he could really be a superstar these next 2 years. But because of that, now that the risk is gone, you have to pay more, and he's going to have to, show up with the Brinks truck with him. But to your original question, yes, I mean, I think that's ideal that a kid goes out, shows what he can do. Maybe his heart growing up, he's a BYU fan, or because of the religious ties that he would like that experience at BYU. And then at that point, he's kind of proven himself, and you can feel more confident, even if you have to pay him, in bringing him back.
In Portland, I was up there, and after the game, after the formal press conference, me and a couple of the guys were waiting for Kevin Young, and he saw us there, so he stopped, very accommodating. And one of the things he said is that, he's going hard for shooters. To him, shooting is the holy grail of recruiting. All right, I can buy that. How do you balance that with guys that want to defend too? Because obviously that was a weakness for the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big miss for him, and he regrets it. Although, obviously, when you talk about this year, you're talking about injuries. I mean, Dawson Baker would have been a decent three-point shooter, and Pickens might have been okay. But you basically on this year's team, you had Richie, who was an elite three-point shooter, and then AJ and Rob. Rob turned out to be a pretty good three-point shooter. AJ was serviceable. He was good. Probably his biggest weakness, but still very good. So you had three guys that were decent. Moo Davis was incredibly streaky. I mean, he'll have 5 threes in the second half and then miss his next 30. So once Richie was out, so your elite shooter's gone, and then everybody's kind of focused on Rob and AJ because they know there's no one else is going to make shots. Kostic was a little bit streaky. He was good at times, but you just had no shooters, and you just can't get away with that in college basketball. So there might have been some unique situations where because of AJ's how amazing he was and singular talent that he was, that you just couldn't invest in getting shooters, and maybe that was it, or the injuries, whatever it was. But BYU was left in a tough spot where they didn't have shooters, and I think that's where that was coming from Coach Young. Regardless of who's on my team, I got to have guys that can make some shots from the three. It's just too important for college basketball. Yes, if you're like Arizona or Michigan with unbelievable size and athleticism at all spots, maybe you don't have to rely on that. But for the rest of the world, you better have some shooters. And the year before, BYU had a plethora, as Guapo would say, of shooters, and they could play 10, 11 guys. And this team was just so thin on the shooting. So I think Coach Young was stung by that. He might have tried to plan for it, but it didn't work out. And so now he's going to make sure that whatever I've got, I'm going to have guys that can make a three, because it's just too big of what you need in college basketball. Any level of basketball really nowadays, it's the 3-point shot that can really make a difference.
BYU is 59th in defensive rating, and Arizona and Michigan were 1 and 2. And all the 1 and 2 seeds seemed like they were top 10 or top 12 in defensive rating. So if you really want to be elite, you got to be elite there. You mentioned size. Rob Wright, best case scenario, looked his matchup in the eye, but probably was giving up size. Kebaketa gave up size against the better teams. This was an undersized team in multiple positions. Do you think that changes going forward? And he'll put – I don't know if he's going to bring in Harms to, be 7'3" and stand there at the rim and turn everyone away. Maybe he will be. What do you think as far as getting bigger players?
Well, I'm a guy that BYU historically, they've certainly had some good big guys, but like a Hoffa or whoever, but they've had a lot of really overperforming kind of smaller guys, the McKelly Westleys, the Fusini Traores, the Kebaketas. They really haven't had a lot of 7'2" guys that are capable scorers and rim protectors. And I think, just again, in today's basketball, the big man maybe is a little less important, but you look at those guys. Michigan's, Arizona, that guy caused unbelievable problems for BYU down low. Texas, their big guy was the reason they won that game, and BYU struggled against teams with really, really good big men. And you can't just Keba was one of my all-time favorites. I mean, he was a walking highlight film, and he could block shots, but he was undersized, and that comes not just in rim protection, but giving up rebounds and all those things. It just you have to have big bodies, and not only big bodies, but you have to have an offensive presence down low. And what guys like Fusini and McKelly and other guys that I've referenced, they were great scorers down low. So even though they're giving up size, they could score for you. When you don't have anyone that can score in the paint with the back to the basket, that just limits you and makes it easier for teams defensively to stop you. So not only do you need a big 7'2" guy, but he's got to be able to score the basket. Now, this is something every team in the country wants.
Yeah,
right.
And so there's high demand for those guys. But if BYU can somehow manage to get one of those types of guys, doesn't need to be scoring 30 points a game, but get 10 points a game, 7-footer, just lurking back there, I think that would really, really help BYU. I think of Utah teams over the years, and they haven't been great the last 20 years or so, but man, they put several big guys in the NBA. That type of guy, and I think if BYU could just find a way to get somebody like that, it could really help their prospects.
It was a lot of fun to have A.J. DeBonsa in the program, and the kid just is so charming, and wow, what a kid. I don't know that you're going to find a better representative who's only going to be here 1 year and is not an LDS kid and doesn't come from Utah and all that. He was just a gem. Now we're all going to root for him going forward. You had a front row seat every single time he put the ball on the floor and did his thing, and it was just amazing. Forecast for us what you think he'll be as far as a pro, ranging from a decent player, an occasional all-star, perennial all-star, Hall of Fame. Where do you think?
Yeah, it was a kind of a thrill for me to watch him. Obviously, the season wasn't ideal how it turned out for BYU, but it was a fun season, and watching him was like, it was really cool.
Right.
And I love that he was so in on BYU, and I credit a lot to his parents. Ace is a great guy, and they just, kept him humble and kept him thinking right. And he was a great teammate, giving gifts to his teammates because he could, and he cares about a lot of things other than basketball, but he loves basketball. And I'd go to these these optional shoot-arounds on the road, and he was always there, always working, and he would work so hard. He was constantly working on his game, and he wants to get better. He loves the game, and you see that as a characteristic of the greats. So, but in answer to your question, I was talking to Matt Carlino, who's a former BYU player who does the color at TCU, and he comes up to me, and this was him, and he said, I think AJ is going to be the face of the NBA for the next 20 years.
Wow.
And I think he can be that guy. I mean, because of the charisma and his, he just has that nature about him that would make people like him. And I think he's got the game, and because he works hard, he's gonna get better and better. But what he can do, and then you take him out of college and put him in the NBA where there's better spacing and they protect the offense a little bit more. I think watching him do that little pull-up jumper.
Yeah.
Obviously no one will ever be as good as Michael Jordan probably, but you see things from great players in what he does, whether it's Kevin Durrant or Michael Jordan, that pull-up jumper that, it just looks really cool to watch him do what he does. And I think he will be a perennial all-star and could end up being a Hall of Famer, and will be someone that if he does do that, whatever happens, he's going to be proud of that he went to BYU and will rep BYU and will be paying dividends for BYU bringing him in for many, many years to come. I think he's going to be one of the greats, and I can't wait to see what happens for him.
Well, Mark, we'll clip and save that. Turn you into Nostradamus.
I agree with you, Mark.
Well, Pat, one of the things I like about you most is you agree with me on things.
Mark, thanks for joining us here. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again.
Yeah, I love you guys. Anytime, man.
All right. Mark Durrant, you hear him on the radio broadcast with Greg Wrubell for BYU basketball. DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, we'll update you on the Masters. Big game for the Mammoth tonight, and tons of reaction on the way as well from the thought about BYU and Collin Chandler and where does Cougar Hoops go from here. That's next. Stay with us. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. The Masters underway. First round action. Got another player at 3-under, Kurt Kitayama, coming out firing. Kitayama's 3-under, Patrick Reed, Tommy Fleetwood, all atop the leaderboard at 3-under here early on. Jose Maria Olazabal, 2-under through 12. Kitayama's played 9. The other guys have played 5 holes. So it's early. We'll keep you up to date all day long here on the Masters, right here on The Zone. PK, we've talked quite a bit of basketball this morning. Mood Davis, Dominique Diamande announcing they're entering the transfer portal. Joining Rob Wright, Xavier Staten, then you throw in the seniors, you throw in the freshmen who will probably be the number one pick in the draft. Not going to be a lot back for BYU next year.
Nope, new players galore.
Faces.
Again.
Yeah, right? Again. And the Utah Mammoth are down to their final 5 games. Big game at home. It is time to talk with Cole Bagley. Cole, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We are doing well. Utah Mammoth insider for KSL Sports. You're taking notes during games. You're tweeting out stuff during games. You're trying to get everything. Can you even keep up when it's a game like the Edmonton game? It seemed like something was happening every 2 minutes. You were probably still doing the last thing when the next thing happened.
Yeah, I mean, most times that I was tweeting score updates, the other team was then going to the other end and putting one in the back of the net. So, no, that was a fun game. That's what we would call a barn burner. A game with 11 goals. I think there was 3 lead changes, multiple ties, and then, of course, an OT winner that just sent Delta Center into an absolute frenzy. So, it obviously, I think a lot of fans didn't necessarily appreciate some of the back and forth. It definitely got the blood flowing, and people were definitely a little anxious, but at the end of the day, Utah got it done. They beat Edmonton for the first time in franchise history, and they inched just a little bit closer to clinching a playoff spot.
Do you think they needed that game to prove something to themselves?
Oh, 100%. As of right now, it's the trajectory that both teams are on. They would end up meeting in the first round. And, do you really want to go into a first-round series against a team that you've never beaten, especially when they are, outfitted with the likes of Connor McDavid? We'll see what the status is of Leon Draisaitl. As the playoffs get closer, he's obviously been out with injury for a couple of weeks, and the overall whereabouts of his situation are unknown. But we'll see how that continues to develop. But for Utah, absolutely, they needed to win that game not only to improve their chances to get into the postseason, but as well to prove to themselves that McDavid was no longer Goliath. That they could conquer that team, that they could beat them, and it took a lot. It wasn't necessarily the prettiest game. There definitely were a lot of mistakes, a lot of hiccups, especially defensively and in between the pipes. But they did what they've been able to do over the last 2 weeks, which is weather the storm. Accurately and effectively navigate adversity, right? I mean, how many times has that team trailed early over these last couple of weeks and then ended up coming back and winning? That's what good teams do. That's what playoff teams do. And so I think for Utah, it was a huge confidence boost, because if you're going to face those guys here in about the next 10 to 14 days in the first round of the playoffs, you needed to make sure that you had proven that you could beat them at some point.
Cole Bagley joining us, insider covering the Mammoth for KSL Sports. His appearance brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. This is a team that's been top 5 defensively, but they have struggled to score, averaging a little over 3 goals a game for the season. But over the last 10 games, that goes up to 4.5 goals. And over the last 4 games, they've scored 25 goals. It's over 6 a game. So what is happening here? Is it simply a hot streak? Is it partly having Logan Cooley back, and he's got some games now, so he's kind of getting into the flow of everything? He's not just back. Is it something else? Because they're scoring goals at a stunning rate versus what we've seen all season.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. First and foremost, I think just everybody on the team has kind of, locked in. They've all taken their games to another level, especially offensively. Clayton Keller, in my opinion, is playing the best hockey of the season right now. Individually, he has been just all over the ice. He has a different demeanor about him. He's playing in a way where he has the ability to kind of take over games offensively and put the team in positions to win hockey games. That top line has just been tremendously good over the last couple of weeks. And then it just goes down from there, right? I mean, the second line, Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther have been producing. Gunther's chasing that 40-goal benchmark, which is just simply elite. Logan Cooley, it feels like he's kind of gotten back to his game. He missed a couple of months due to injury, and it was a little bit rough there for a while. It took him a minute to kind of settle back in, but he's now back at the top of his game. And then having him as well on the top power play unit has done wonders. They all season long they've been, I think, the second worst power play in the National Hockey League. Well, as of late, they're connecting, and I think more than, or at least close to 30% of their chances, which puts them towards the top of the league, at least as of recently. Having him back is a big deal. And then the depth just continues to step up every night. You're getting big goals from Alexander Kerfoot and Kyler Yamamoto and Liam O'Brien, and everybody is contributing right now. Which I think speaks volumes to their intentions. A season ago, the Utah Hockey Club it never felt like they were really had that belief. It never felt like they were, taking, playoff implications seriously. Whereas, you fast forward to this year as the Mammoth, and, the additions that they made and the maturity that we've seen from this group, they want it, and you can tell that they want it, and they're playing in a way that proves that. So I think, if you had to kind of pin the offense on anything, I would say it's probably those things. They are taking this push seriously, and they'll have an opportunity to clinch tonight based on a couple of factors.
Then how do they go from wanting to be in the playoff to transform that then to wanting to win in the playoffs? Because it's one thing to just get there, but obviously another to win.
Yeah, I think it's all about taking it a step at a time. Bill Armstrong and the entire front office have been very patient with this rebuild. They understand what it's going to take to eventually become a team that can compete for Stanley Cups. Bill has said time and time again, he's outlined how long it generally does take for teams to accomplish that. And it's usually anywhere between 8 to 12 years for teams who, decide to rebuild to, become contenders. And so, just taking a year at a time. The biggest thing for them, the most important thing for them is to get in and then go from there. Obviously, depending on who they draw, will probably set expectations for what the postseason is. If they do end up drawing Edmonton, I don't know that that's a series that they can win. It just feels kind of insurmountable with, who is going to bet against Connor McDavid in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially after what Edmonton has accomplished over the last few years. Obviously, they haven't won a cup yet, but nobody in the West has been able to tame the Oilers. So, that one feels difficult. But then if you look at Anaheim and Vegas, if Utah does end up drawing, either of those teams, expectations would shift. I think those are both series that Utah would potentially even be favored in, or at least series that they know that they could win. So, like I said, I think it's just continue to be patient, continue to build, take it a step at a time, and we'll see who they end up drawing in the postseason. If it's one of those other two teams, yeah, they could probably win that first round. But if it's Edmonton, obviously they would go in with hope and belief, but they would maybe have to shift their expectations just a little bit.
Did it blow you away that after having the goal and the assist in Utah, he turned around and had the hat trick and 2 more assists and a 5-2 win in San Jose, going back-to-back on the road?
No, that's
he's
that's
just that good.
McDavid.
He can do whatever he wants. Nothing's going to surprise you at this point.
No, I mean, I was able to sit down with a couple of the Mammoth players, the other day at practice, just as they were preparing for the Oilers, and I asked all of them, and I said, how do you contain this guy? What is it? How good is he? And without question, each of them said Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. And there's a debate that it's between him and Nathan McKinnon, but what stands out about Connor McDavid's game is hockey is such a team sport, and so when you have a superstar that is just a one-way train of offense who can create something out of nothing every single shift, that's what separates him as the best player in the league. And we've seen that time and again, when they played Utah. I mean, he did that over the last 2 matchups. He dangled his way through the entire defense on the power play the other night, went right to the net, beat 2 guys, and you watch his ability to change direction, to stop on a dime, to maneuver in very tight spaces. There's there's just nobody like Connor McDavid. So, nothing he does surprises me.
Cole, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right, thanks, fellas.
PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it is time for your feedback. What do you think about all this stuff we've been talking about? The Masters, is it gotta watch golf for you? Bill says absolutely. Best golf tournament of the year. The Open is second.
Well, Bill's a real man.
Rank him, PK?
Bill's a man. I could tell. I've never met Bill, but if I ever would, I would love him.
Is the U.S. Open your second favorite tournament?
I suppose so, yeah. And then you get the drama of on Father's Day and Phil Mickelson losing to the guy who died who would wear the knickers. Payne Stewart, and then he hugs him and you're going to be a father soon. Remember all those years ago? So you had that going on there, and that tends to sports connect fathers and sons as they do, both genders, obviously. So, yeah, sure. And that's on the U.S. I do like the British because it's so early in the morning. It's unique in that way. I've never been to Europe. But I've had friends and all and been there and golfers, and they got to go and take the picture, blah, blah, blah.
We've also got people commenting on BYU, the transfer portal, guys coming and going. How badly do they need Collin Chandler right now? I'm sure BYU can find other guys. Most of the guys leaving can be replaced. Even Rob Wright. Collin Chandler would help for sure. Jesse's not going to get caught up in it. That's Jesse.
Yeah, but who's to say you get those guys, though? Everyone can be replaced. DeBonce's a special talent. We got Mark Durrant, who's been following basketball forever, saying he sees the kid as potentially a basketball Hall of Famer, and I don't think that's outrageous. Okay, so that's going to be hard to replace. But that's like Ainge and Jimmer. Yeah, they don't come around very often. And the rest of them, sure, you can be replaced, but if you got one of your own in your backyard and he wants to come and you want him, blah, 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 go get him.
Mark's talking about him being a Hall of Famer. I think given how hyped this class is, it'd be surprising if there weren't a Hall of Famer in it. And whoever goes number one, and you and I have both thought for a while it's going to be him, you would think that would be the person most likely to end up being the Hall of Famer. You never know exactly how stuff is going to play out, but the odds are that's how it's going to play out.
Yeah, there might be others, or, heaven forbid, injury or whatnot.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like other stuff is going to derail this young man because he was so pleasant, and I wasn't around him a lot, but just watching him from a distance and being around him a little bit, he seemed to be very pleasant and you really couldn't ask for anything more out of that young man.
Matt says, feed the man some cookies. Got to bulk him up. I don't know if cookies are the way to do it there, Matt.
That's interesting, though, about bulking him up. It's the same thing with Ace Bailey. How much do you really want to bulk him up? You want to get stronger, but is it just simply, we've seen some kids like a Gordon Hayward. Oh, my gosh, he needed to gain weight. Are you kidding me? He was just too skinny, too weak. But when you've got the superior athleticism, how do you want to handle that? That's going to be interesting to see with DeBonce. And then, of course, with Ace over the next 2, 3 to 4 years. What's he going to look? What is Ace Bailey? There's a natural progression there that will take place. What's he going to look like from age 19 to 25, say?
What will it take for college fans to revolt? And Jesse says, well, if they haven't already, I doubt they ever will.
Yeah, something to be said for that, but I doubt they ever will anyway.
Brent, about what? There's lots of things I can think of. There's lots of motivations, and yet they're not revolting. Because it's what you do with your friends and your family, your kids, your parents, your neighbors, your college buddies, whatever.
The games are just fun, man. The games, you're a Ute fan. Your world was upheaval going in that Vegas Bowl. But then Dampier goes out there and, gosh, man, played so well. And if you're a Ute fan, that was fun. And now you're excited for this season because you got him back. And you're intrigued because it's a new coach. I mean, there's always storylines, man. And we got to spend our time, our non-working time, doing something. And I couldn't imagine myself. My wife and I, we talk about retirement. She says, what are you going to do? I say, well, I always have my woodworking to fall back on.
That's Scotty G. That's not you. Scotty will go out in the garage and turn on the lathe and make pens for everybody, which he does, and he can, and you and I would just be breaking stuff. So, a man's got to know his limitations. Scotty can do that stuff. I don't think you and I should be out doing that kind of stuff.
And there will be things that I can do, certainly give back to the community, what have you. But like I told her, I said, well, you don't have to worry about from 5 o'clock on every night because I'm probably going to be doing the same thing that I've been doing for the last 25 years.
Yeah, I worked with Reese Stein for years, and I asked him about retiring once, and he said, what am I going to do if I retire? Go fishing? Right now I'm going fishing, and they pay for my gas.
Yeah. Okay, I can't imagine I won't be watching ball games.
Yep.
I mean, I'm 72 now. I figure I got a year or two left.
That's probably about right. Yeah, good math. All right, we'll leave it right there. DJ and PK, Jake and Ben are coming up next right here on The Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.